What's up, people? How you guys doing? It's been a while. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna be going over Elon Musk's Qatar Economic Forum interview, where I think he said some shit that was kind of crazy. So I'm gonna be breaking that down a little bit, and other than that, I don't think I'm gonna cover anything else. I think this is probably just gonna be a short, fun stream where we make fun of this guy for his autistic tendencies and whatnot. Actually, let's transition to the new thing because I might as well be using this on stream as well. But yeah, with that, I think. Also, Thoring's in here. Say sup to the crowd.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. What
I'm getting everything set up on my end.
Oh, okay. You're good. While Soaring's doing that, we'll just shoot the ideas out there because he says some crazy stuff. I don't know if you saw it, Soaring. I did put it in the thing, but yeah, it is crazy stuff. Also, hello to Ozzy, Crab, Fluzzy. Thank you for being here. I know this is earlier than most of my streams. I'm usually a nighttime streamer, not a afternoon streamer, which is weird for me, but you know. Listen, don't unsub Christine, and you wouldn't have that problem. But thank you for being here. And also, I apologize for not streaming fairly often because that has been a problem. I understand that I have not been consistent about this, and I have to keep the consistency up. Otherwise, I will be kicked out of the algorithm. Just as we made it in, we are back out. What up, Sean? Yes, I am a lazy piece of shit. I could agree to that. But let me get my screen shares ready.
Dude, it looks so good with Nitro. I'm so impressed.
You know what's crazy? I did set up the screen share for today, so let me see if I can run it. If we have an issue, I'll kick it over to you, Vice, because I'll have to rearrange all my screens.
All right.
But yeah, let's get this started. Should I go full screen? Yeah, I should.
Please welcome to the forum, Elon Musk, for a conversation with Bloomberg's Michelle Hussein. Hello, everyone, and Elon Musk, welcome to Qatar Economic Forum. How are you?
Qatar.
Thank you for having me. I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you, and very pleased to have you with us. You know, among those here in the audience in Doha are some you will know, people who have backed you financially over the years. Since you last spoke here in 2022, a lot has changed in your life. You're not only running multiple companies, you were doing that then, but now you also have a role in government. So first of all, I hope you won't mind if from time to time I have to move you from one topic to another because we have a lot to cover.
Why does that look fake? He looks AI in that.
Okay, so he's doing a remote thing. He's in DC, I think, at the time. So, and this is all happening in Qatar. Or Qatar.
I see.
I actually don't know what the pronunciation is for that country.
Pretty sure it's Qatar.
I'm pretty sure it's Qatar, but everyone calls it Qatar when I like listen to like big interviews like this. They just say Qatar, and I'm just like, is that the right way? Qatar, not guitar, But yeah, so he's just doing like a remote thing, and you know how that they have that blurring effect.
Using Starlink?
Probably. I would hope he's using Starlink. Shit, I should stream this to the Discord, right, so you can see it at the same time as me.
Yeah, I'm watching
Yeah.
it through YouTube.
Yeah, let me do that. Share my screen. Listen, ever since my internet got fixed, we're not having the issues that I used to have.
I don't see it on here on my side.
You don't see it?
No, I see the video, but I mean like the lag on your stream.
Oh, yeah, it's weird. So I think the internet issues are finally resolved. Finally got it working. It only
Let's
took a year,
go.
guys. It only took a year. Shut the fuck up, Crab. Yeah, I know the logic in that. All right, let's continue.
Right?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
Well, let's start then with exactly the fact that you now have this combination of being a CEO and having a role as a government advisor. Tell me about your week. How does it work? What's the split of your time?
Find big
Oh,
deals at
no.
Best Buy this Memorial
Ads.
Day.
I don't have ads on mine.
Well, I travel a lot. So I was in
Listen, I just
Silicon
want to
Valley
rearrange your screen. I
yesterday
set everything up 'cause
morning.
I didn't
I
know
was
if you were
in
available
LA
or not.
yesterday evening. I'm in Austin right now. I'll be in DC tomorrow. I'll be there having dinner with the president tomorrow night, I believe. And then a whole bunch of cabinet secretary meetings, and then back to Silicon Valley on Thursday night.
But I mean, the balance of your time, is it, well, clearly it's a lot, but is it still the case, as you said a while ago, that it's about 1 to 2 days a week on your government work?
He does have weak facial hair. I will say that. Like, this is super weird. Like, I don't know if you guys see this, but like right here,
Like the Tony
right
Stark.
here, and then right here. No, because Tony Stark actually has a mustache, right? Like his mustache, he has like the reverse Hitler.
It's a year.
He has he has everything that Hitler didn't have.
That's crazy.
Hey, was it inaccurate though? That's the real question. Oh, I know I'm gonna get some shit for that one.
Yeah, that's correct.
And what does that mean for your corporate life? Because if we start with Tesla, the company has suffered in recent months what you've called blowback. So what is your plan for turning that around, the declining sales picture? And by what stage do you think you're going to be able to turn it around?
Oh, it's already turned around.
Give me some evidence for that. I've just been looking at the sales figures for Europe in April, which show very significant declines in the big markets.
Europe is our weakest market. We're strong everywhere else. No, our sales are doing well at this point. We don't anticipate any meaningful sales shortfall, and
Yeah, we're gonna go into this, but I'm
obviously the stock market recognizes that, since we're now back over $1 trillion in market cap. So clearly the market is aware of the situation. So it's already turned around
But sales still down compared to this time last year
in Europe.
in Europe, okay. And
Yes, but that's true of all manufacturers. There's no exceptions.
all right. So he says a lot, right? So he says Tesla is has bounced back. They're back to last year's standards. Europe is not, is his weakest performing, but all manufacturers in Europe are performing weak. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the data to see if he's factual. So let's pull up this. All right, so this is Tesla's investor relations press release, okay? So this is from them, what they calculate for. This is Q1 of 2024. So as we can see here, like, obviously they're not doing super great, but like, hey, this isn't too bad considering it's a car company, right? So, the reason they give for their decline is decline in volumes were partially due to the early phase of production ramp of the updated Model 3 at our Fairmont factory and factory shutdowns resulting for shipping diversion caused by Red Sea conflict and an arson attack at the Gigafactory in Berlin. So we can see that the production for this is about, for the Model 3s are about 412. The total is going to be 433. Other models 20,000. Deliveries, he does a pretty significant amount, 369,000. 386 were actually delivered, and with that we have a good understanding of what last year looked like for quarter one. So if we go and we look at their 2025 quarter one productions, we can see there is a significant drop down by like 60,000 in the Model 3, and then overall like 70,000 less cars produced. Cars sold, we're looking at 336, and deliveries to 323. So their deliveries are pretty on point. They're only down by 10,000. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but every time they release these kinds of informations, they say that there's always an issue, right? So for this particular quarter, there was, while the changeover of the Model Y lines are all across all four of our factories led to the loss of several weeks of quarter one productions, the ramp of the new Model Y continues well. That's the reasoning for the drop. But as we saw in the 2024, they always give a reasoning for why there's a drop. So this isn't unique. So when he claims Tesla has bounced back and is at the same level, or that he's performing as well, like there's like a 13% drop in the American market. So he's not doing well in Europe. He's not doing well in the American market. It's just kind of one of those things. And now to address his other claim, let's take a look at this. This gives us the best-selling car makers in Europe. As we can see, there is a decline in most car companies. Tesla doesn't make the list, obviously, in the top 10, but we see Volkswagen up by 12%. We see, I forget how to pronounce this, Stellantis down by 6%. The Renault Group up by 12%. Hyundai down by 3%. Toyota down by 5%. The BMW Group is down by 1%. The Mercedes is down by 8%. Ford, surprisingly, up by 12%. Nissan down by 4%, and the Geely Group is down by 3%. So when he claims,
Geely Group?
I have no idea. A lot of these car manufacturers are probably just European car manufacturers, like their own.
No, Renault Group is good. They make really nice SUVs.
Do they?
Yeah.
Ford is surprising because if we hear like a lot of the talking points coming from like higher ups in the American like public, they're saying that they don't accept our cars, right? They don't do so. Seeing Ford doing really well and Tesla not doing so well is kind of like the sticking point of like, yeah, maybe Tesla's just not doing great as a car because, you know, if you put your public image out there and just kind of like present yourself as a fool to everyone, how the fuck is anyone gonna like invest in your company at any significant route, right? So like when we're looking at this, it's just like, yeah, Tesla has like a significant drop off in Europe, even when we're comparing to like other companies. So just the statement of him being like all of them perform bad in Europe, it's like that's not true. There are several car manufacturers that are performing bad. They're just not as performing as bad as yours. And also there are car manufacturers that are doing well. So it just seems like he likes to twist his information and be like, yeah, Europe bad, but we're doing good in America. And as we could see through here, they are not doing as good as they were last year, not even by a significant amount. Like, that's 50,000 less deliveries over their whole over the year for each quarter. So when we look, and I forgot to also touch on this, the subject to operating leasing accounts have gone up. So that could be something that he could be referring to. I think that's probably what he would reference if he was looking at this. Because if we look at Q1 of 2024, the leasing for a lot of these things are like 1%, and then it dramatically increases to 4 to like 7 to 4. Listen, I don't have too many of myself on screen, Christine. There's just 2 of me, okay? And the other one is just there for as a blinking thing. Okay? Let's not forget, no matter how many times he's promised otherwise, his factory efficiency is still ass. Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the whole point when they release these quarters. Like, you look here, they always give some sort of reason for why production is down. It's just a way to fucking offset some of the responsibility they have to their stockholders. He's gonna get into their stockholder stuff. We'll cover that a little bit more, but yeah, it's their factories have always been just garbage. And Elon has a bad habit of over promising in areas where he shouldn't be over promising. Let's not forget the time where he threw a baseball at the Cybertruck and it just shattered that fucking window. I think we all remember that. No, may all the pennies find you, Christine, okay? Yeah. So like we can talk about like the weird stuff that's been going on with the Cybertruck where side panelings have been falling off. The Model Y was if you were driving it over 60 miles per hour, you were having the axle fall off the car. Which I don't know if you know this, but if you're going 60 miles per hour and your axle falls off, like I don't know what to tell you. Like at that point you're dead. So yeah, there's a lot of issues that Tesla's been facing, not just like the company face putting them in a weird light. Obviously that has been affecting. So I'm not just gonna blame Elon for that. I'm also gonna blame the car manufacturer itself not being up to standard for most cars. So him being in the public and doing all this stuff, yes, hurts the company. I don't know if that we can put a percentage amount on that, but I would say it has led to a decline in his sales numbers and how much Tesla is producing. I don't know if we want to look at their stock numbers. Do you think that's important, Vice? Should we look at their stock numbers? No, yes, maybe. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I would say that Tesla overpromises with like their specs. So it's not surprising to me that we would see a significant drop off.
Yeah, Tesla's is 339
For their
for
stock.
today's.
For stock.
Yeah.
It's not at its highest, right? Like I think it was at its highest last year.
No, it's not at its highest. Last year was at its highest. Checked this earlier too, but I'll check it again. 479 and 86 cents. December 17th, 2024.
Can you put that in the side chat for me?
Excuse me, Mr. Horner.
What's up?
Did you get my DM? Are you ignoring me?
Oh, sorry. It's in streamer mode, so I don't hear anything right now.
Okay. I'll just say it. Having the face on the bottom left is redundant because you have your face.
It is, but it was for the video, and I didn't know if I was going to be using Discord. So yeah, let me turn.
It's Discord or not?
Yeah,
Your little logo, bro.
That's why I was there,
little,
like, because if I wasn't.
No, your little words, your little name, your little font words thing.
Oh, the change that up.
Yeah. So that way it never can become redundant if you're in Discord or not.
There you go.
Anyway, Christine was getting angry.
There you
So
go. Yeah.
I didn't want her to unsub, you know.
Oh yeah. Christine is a valued member of the community, so.
And a stupid bitch. Anyway, I'll be back. Bye.
Facts. RT in chat.
Let's open that up. Yeah, like, so if we take a look at this, let me see if chat can see this. Yeah, so if we take a look at this for the year, obviously Tesla has been declining significantly.
The one next.
There has been a climb for sure. But as we can see here, like it's kind of stabilized at that point, and I don't think it's gonna reach that again, especially if he continues down the line. He continues. Like, I think if he stays out of the public eye, we could see the bounce back. And then if we look at the year trend, obviously, like, he's never going to be back at the end of the year last year, right? Like,
because what happened last year is he sold a lot of cars to a big company.
Yeah, so
that made his stock go up a lot.
Yeah, but at the start of the last year, he was at a lower point. I think they're up, like, yeah, it says here 95%. So yeah, Tesla isn't doing awful, but they aren't doing like great either. At least considering like where they were at the end of the year towards now. Like, their quarter one has been pretty bad. And that's where we see a lot of the crazy stuff from Elon, and honestly the rollout of the Cybertruck has probably been the worst thing that company could have handled.
It's a flop.
So yeah, I don't see a significant increase happening anytime soon. But yeah, let's go back to the video. Obviously we're only 3 minutes in and he's already kind of twisting the facts, and I don't think it's going to get better as we go along. So let's go. Also, shout out to Bloomberg Podcast because we're using their video. So yeah, Vice, if you could put that in the chat for me, that'd be great.
I will.
Actually, let me grab the data sets so people can grab them out of the chat as well. So people can look for themselves. And if people are rewatching, they can okay.
Yeah, Geely is a Chinese company. I had to look them up.
Yeah, I don't know what a Geely is. I've never heard of that car manufacturer. But America has like the weirdest like setup for car manufacturers. Like, we don't see a lot of them in the US. So
No.
we can I can clearly say that America's just not great.
Like, Geely owns like Volvo and shit like that in America. That's what they own.
Yeah.
Over here.
But let's
But they have their own car in China too. My bad.
Do they have their own car in China?
Yeah, they do.
Like,
Doesn't look bad.
I'm gonna have to look into the Geely group. but I just kind of needed to prove that he was just like bullshitting when he's just like, yeah, the European market is just bad. You know, like Mercedes is down 8%. Like that's kind of crazy. Like, but or in BMW being down 3%. Like,
Yeah, because for some reason right now, pretty sure like German cars and European cars are not like super wanted in the Middle East or whatever it is.
Yeah. The manufacturer is just like,
It's like they want American. They're like, no, they want like American made
yeah. That's why
cars.
Ford is performing well right now, and I'm kind of glad about that. It's just surprising because when if you hear like any politician talk, they'll be like, they don't want our cars, and when we look at any like data set, they're like, oh, that they do want our cars. But let's let this man keep talking with his weak facial hair.
Does that mean that you're not going to be able? Does that mean
European is quite weak?
Okay, but
quite weak.
You would acknowledge, wouldn't you, that what you are facing, okay, let's just take it as Europe, what you are facing is a significant problem. This Tesla is an incredibly aspirational brand. People identify...
Okay, this isn't like a big talking point, but I hate the way he drinks stuff on like these kinds of interviews. I don't know. For me, like, it's that like Mark Zuckerberg lizard person shit where it's just like, is this man a human?
With it, they saw it as being at the forefront of the climate crisis, and now people are driving around with stickers in their cars saying, I bought this before we knew Elon was crazy.
And there are also people who are buying it because Elon's crazy, or however they may view it.
Also, he's super proud of that. I don't get why you would be so proud of that. Like, people are buying my car because they think I'm crazy. I'm just like, what the fuck? It might be, Sean. That would be the Lex Luthor sip. Yeah.
Yes, we've lost some sales perhaps on the left, but we've gained them on the right. The sales numbers at this point are strong, and we see no problem with demand.
So what?
And I mean, you can just look at the stock price. If you want the best inside information, the stock market analysts have that, and our stock wouldn't be trading near all-time highs if it was not if things weren't in good.
Okay, all-time highs. As we can tell, as we saw, that man is lying. We saw it. This man just says shit. It is not at an all-time high. It was at its height when Trump got elected, and then we started seeing the hike. And then also, Vice is correct that he sold the shit. They had a humongous deal that kind of upped them for a good amount. yeah. Fuck. Let's see if I can put that on stream.
Yeah, sometimes I can be correct.
Sometimes.
You can see the lies in his eyes. You can't even see where his jaw is, or if that's his cheek or his jaw.
I don't know. All right, let's continue.
Good shape. They're fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay. I was citing sales figures rather than share price. Well, tell me then how committed you are to Tesla. Do you...
Oh, I am very jealous of Elon. I want you to know that, ABS. Internally. This is just me showing how much hatred and jealousy I have for this man. Not just correcting him, because at some point you just kind of have to be tired of this dude. Listen, I am jealous that he can grow a reverse Hitler mustache. I am jealous. I wish I could do that. That's crazy.
See yourself, and are you committed to still being the chief executive of Tesla in 5 years' time?
Turn
Ew,
your
ad.
pastime into your full time.
Yes.
No doubt about that at all.
Well, no, I might die.
Okay, short of that.
I can't be here if I'm dead. So there's a slight amount of.
Does that mean that the value of your pay doesn't have any bearing on your decision?
Well, that's not really a subject of discussion in this forum.
I feel like
think obviously
an
there should be
economic forum, yeah,
compensation
pay is
for-
kind of
If
a
there's
thing.
something incredible is done, that
But that's just
compensation
me,
should
you know.
match that something incredible was done. But I'm confident that whatever some activist posing as a judge in Delaware happens to do will not affect the future compensation.
This is the judge who twice struck down.
An activist posing as a judge, guys. People are posing as judges.
The $56 billion pay package that was awarded to you. I think the value on the current value of stock options. Yeah.
Not a judge. The activist who is cosplaying a judge in a Halloween costume.
Okay.
Let's let the laughter
That's
go
your
through.
characterization.
Dude, I hate this dude's smugness. I actually hate it. Oh, dude. And the laugh in the background, it was like, why would you indulge this, man? Ugh. But yes, the judge that is cosplaying as a judge in a Halloween costume. Yeah. It's on actual case. Don't look it up. Don't believe the legacy media, okay? Because they all lie. They're liars. Remember that.
I think on the current value of stock options, I think the actual
justice according to the law.
on the current value of stock options, I think the value of that pay package stands at about $100 billion. Are you saying you are relaxed about the value of your future pay package? Your decision to be committed to Tesla for the next 5 years, as long as you are still with us on this planet, is completely independent of pay?
No.
It's not independent. So pay is a relevant factor then to your commitment to Tesla.
Based.
A sufficient voting control such that I cannot be ousted by activist investors is what matters to me. And I've said this publicly many times. But let's not have this whole thing be a discussion of my alleged pay. It's not a money thing. It's a reasonable control thing over the future of the company, especially if we're building millions, potentially billions of humanoid robots. I can't be sitting there.
Okay. I do want to touch on this robot bullshit. Okay, I'm not even gonna play clips for this one. We saw him when he fucking pulled out the Cybertruck. We said the self-driving car since like what was it, like 2012, 2014? Like, we've been talking about this self-driving car, and what year is it? Like, we're 10 years down the line. And it was supposed to happen like 8 years ago. What happened? So,
but there's some self-driving cars though, but not Tesla.
There
It's
are,
not
but
Tesla
like
made.
it's not even Tesla. That's what I'm saying. Like,
No, it's not.
they're not even on. They're not even in the fucking ball game.
No, they have. It's like Jaguars. I don't know if it's Jaguar doing it, but the car is a Jaguar. That are self-driving cars.
Yeah. The amount of infrastructure changes that he would have to do to achieve an army avius is just too great. There's no way we're going to be seeing robots on the manufacturing floor for at least another like 6-7 years minimum. And that would be like that's going to be like privatized stuff, not to the public. So, yeah, I feel like if anyone can do it, the Chinese might actually get robots before we do. And as long as Tesla can keep their secrets under wraps, I think they can get there first. But it's all about who has the most efficient engineers. And as much shit as I talk on Tesla, they do have some of the best engineers in the world. So I don't ever want to take that away from them. We do need a robot to run for president.
Yes, Dave, you're right. It is the
Get
eyepiece.
tossed out by, for political reasons, by activists. That would be unacceptable. That's all that matters. Now let's move on.
Okay, well, just one
Now let's
question.
move on.
Well,
Okay, dude. Oh man, this man is like it's weird to watch. These guys should get out of their own way. Really? Like honestly, they should get out of their own way and just let the company run itself, right? And just collect. Live on that shit. I don't know why you have to come out here and be like, you know what, I'm gonna talk for the company. What was that fucking guy that was on Pierce Morgan? They had the fucking he's the CEO of the Give Send Go guy. Yeah, he was the CEO and he just made that company look so bad. I'm just like, sometimes just don't talk. Sometimes just don't talk. It's better. Your company will make money. Just let it go. Just let it go. But yeah, that response of like, that's all. That's all. It's just like, what the fuck?
one question before we move on to other companies, which is that I wonder if some of what has happened to Tesla in the last few months, did you take it personally?
Yes.
Yes.
And did it make you regret any of, or think twice about your political endeavors?
Dude, that should have been a no. He should have just...
Because it
Well,
is...
I did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and
I don't know if you guys know this. If it's an antibody, that means he's referring to himself as a disease. And we need to get him out. That's the logical follow-through of that analogy. I don't know why he would fucking say that. Like... It is so dumb. Ugh. But this is why we can't have autistic people on camera. This is why I shouldn't be allowed a camera.
I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. Do you damage some poor innocent person's car to threaten to kill me? What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone. So...
I'm not sure, Avius. I'm actually not sure. This could be Grok. This could be Grok in its physical form, and I just don't know. But I have to, for the time being, I have to take his word and say that this is actual Elon and not just AI trying to trick me. Someday, we'll know the truth, but not today.
Something needs to be done about them. And a number of them are going to prison, and they deserve it. And more will.
You're...
Oh, okay. I'll also agree with him here. This is probably going to be the one few times that I agree with him in when he's talking. Yeah, if you're going out there firebombing fucking Tesla dealerships, you deserve to go to jail. Like, don't be a fucking dipshit. Like, if you want to protest Tesla because you don't agree with his political positions, or you think he said something crazy or irredeemable, then just okay, that's fine. Just don't go out there and be a fucking dipshit, because then it gives these fucking stupid people the same ammunition to be like, I'm a victim, and it's just like, well, yes, you are, but don't do that. It pretty much takes off all the responsibility they have for anything that they do that is wrong. Fluzzy, I'm only taking his word because Grok is extremely racist at the moment, so I think he would have already dove into white genocide if he was like if this was actual Grok. So I think we're good. But I'm not sure. I can't be sure. But yeah. But yeah, if you're firebombing fucking Tesla dealerships, fucking actually go buy some rope. You know what to do with it. Cause that is fucking stupid, and you're making people that are actually trying to protest the stupid shit that he does or the stupid shit that he says insignificant in their pursuit of this. So yeah. Also, I would also point out that he was getting death threats before this whole situation. So I always find it weird that like public figures will always use like death threats as the thing. It's just like I think it's like I don't think it's right that that's the norm, but it is within the norm to have someone so high up that you receive like death threats. I don't think that's unique to just him, right? I would say that's just anyone in any higher up position. Like even movie stars receive like crazy death threats. So I don't know. Even streamers do. Like we see it all over the place. So it's just like there's only so much I can take his pity shit for. Where I'm just like, oh yeah, I can understand like death threats being bad, but it's just like don't use that as your talking point, please. Just like focus in on people being fucking stupid and destroying your shit, and then if the death threats actually have some credibility to them, and then yeah, address them. But using them for this always seems slimy.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think
Yeah. Well, it's your showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison. Don't worry.
But wouldn't you?
We're coming for you.
Yes. Also, yes, if you are organizing some sort of violence, we are coming for you. Like, no, I'm kidding. This is always so cringe when he does this shit. I don't know why he thinks this is like cool to do. This is like the nerd trying to be super edgy without actually knowing how to be edgy. You know what I mean? Yeah, like it's just unnecessary. What do you think, Vice? Like maybe I'm overreading this.
No, he's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just doesn't know how to act nonchalant. But I do like his jacket.
Yeah, the mouth breathing.
It's a really nice jacket.
Yeah, it is a nice jacket. The thing is, he'll also say this shit, but I was gonna pull up a bunch of fucking shit for this particular part, but I didn't feel like it was necessary. But he'll say that, yeah, if people are committing violent actions and anyone who's involved, anyone who would like promote that shit, he goes really hard at them. He's like, they should be jailed and they shouldn't come out, right? But let's not forget this guy is also like a Jan 6er denier, right? Or he's just like they should get off scot-free even though we saw violent actions being performed by Jan 6ers. Like it's crazy to me that the double standards that these people will have for their people but not for their like
everybody.
For the opposing party. It's just like it's like, no, they weren't violent, right? Like most people aren't burning Teslas. Most people are just probably being like,
no,
making fun of him like we're doing right now. But
So what happened to the Tesla dealership near me? It got egged, but that was all.
Yeah.
It just got egged.
Yeah. Which is still,
But there was also protests outside of it.
yeah, like that's still like a shit action. Don't get me wrong, but like not everyone is firebombing fucking cars. Not everyone's, but they won't.
No, not everybody.
They won't use that logic in this case, but they'll use it in like in the Jan 6 case, where it's just like, yeah, not everyone was there committing violence. Yeah, someone got hit with a fire extinguisher in the head, but that wasn't everyone, right? Some people were just letting people fucking they were just walking into the fucking thing. No one was doing anything. And then we get videos of people fucking like bashing the doors down. It's just like, well, most of them didn't do it. So it's just like, where is this standard? Like, also, yes, thank you for reminding me, Sean. Like and subscribe if you like what we're talking about and like this kind of content, because I think this is the route I like to go down now, where I just break down people's stupid ideas. And if you don't want to like, you could also hit the dislike. It all helps, or doesn't help.
Yes, it does. It does.
Don't tell them that. It doesn't help. It will piss me off. Don't do it. Don't hit that dislike button, okay? Never do it.
Oh yeah, it doesn't put you in the algorithm.
But yeah, so please, thank you. I very much appreciate that. But with that, let's continue.
Wouldn't you? But wouldn't
Also, the fucking cocksuckers in the fucking crowd. That was like the cringiest thing, dude. Why would you clap for that? Ugh.
Wouldn't you
Ew.
acknowledge that some of the people who turned against Tesla in Europe were upset at your politics, and very few of them would have been violent in any way. They just objected to what they saw you say or do politically.
Well, it's certainly fine to object to political things, but it's not fine to resort to violence and hanging someone in effigy and death threats.
Yes, hanging someone in effigy is bad, but we threaten Mike Pence with the gallows. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. You know what? That didn't happen, okay? Lies from the legacy media. Okay.
That's obviously not okay.
It's not.
That's
I agree.
absurd. That is in no way justifiable at all, in any way, shape, or form. And some of the legacy media nonetheless have sought to justify it, which is unconscionable. Shame on them.
Yep. Shame on the legacy media for trying to justify violence and hanging people and all this other crazy shit. Yeah. Shame. Shame, guys.
Let's talk about your other companies then, and other.
Effigies is speech. I'm just saying that it's funny that he'll refer to that as the hanging of effigies, but when we're talking about a literal hanging, like they don't raise an eyebrow, you know. So that's all I'm trying to point out, like it, because I think we can all agree that was the stupidest fucking thing, and I just don't understand why you would fight against Jan 6 and then say this stupid shit.
Business area, SpaceX. I saw that you said in a speech at the West Point Military Academy recently that the future of warfare is AI and drones.
No, I'm not saying someone got literally hung. I'm saying that people were saying they're gonna hang Mike Pence at Jan 6. And they also erected a fucking gallows, so it's not like it was just a speech thing. Like I feel like if they would have gotten their hands on Mike Pence, we would have seen some crazy stuff. But that is interpretation on my end.
And obviously, defense is an increasingly booming sector with the state of the world at the moment. Do you see SpaceX moving into weaponized drones?
I am Polestar 3. I am pure electric performance.
Oh yeah, Gilly owns Polestar too.
We got a Polestar ad while talking about Tesla. You know what? This is the first time I actually am proud of an ad based. Let's go. They know. They know.
You certainly ask interesting questions that are impossible to answer. SpaceX is it's the space launch leader. So SpaceX doesn't do drones. SpaceX builds rockets, satellites, and internet terminals. So SpaceX has a very dominant position in space launch. So of the mass launch to orbit this year, SpaceX will probably do 90%. China will do the half of the remaining amount, so 5%, and the rest of the world, including the rest of the US, will do about 5%. So SpaceX will do about 10 times as much as the rest of the world combined, or 20 times as much as China, and China is doing actually a very impressive job. The reason for this is that we are putting into orbit the largest satellite constellation the world has ever seen by far. So I think at this point, about maybe approaching 80% of all active satellites in orbit are SpaceX. And they're providing global high bandwidth.
Ah, fuck! I didn't hear that the first time. I would have researched this. I actually would have researched that. That seems like ridiculously high. I could actually see it though, but I don't know. That seems off.
Global connectivity throughout the world. In fact, this connection is on a SpaceX connection. So I think this is a very good thing because it means that we can provide low-cost, high-bandwidth internet to parts of the world that don't have it or where it's very expensive. And I think the single biggest thing you can do to lift people out of poverty and help them is giving them...
As 2024, Starlink has over 7,000 satellites in orbit.
Are they 80% of all satellites in orbit?
Let's see how many satellites are in orbit.
Because that seems like a significantly high number. But to be fair, Starlink would require a humongous undertaking. Because Starlink is actually a good product. I will say that. But Starlink is providing internet to people that would not have internet lines laid out is probably the best thing you could do. So
Alright, there's 11,780 satellites right now.
okay,
And
so it's high up
Starlink
there.
is like 7,000 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's high up there. Yeah. It's not 80%, but yeah. Okay.
Once you have the internet connection, you can learn anything for free on the internet. And you can also sell your goods and services to the global market.
Yeah, let's make poor countries do drop shipping, dude. Yeah, but if you have high density, you're already you most likely already have some sort of internet lines laid out. So it's a weird thing. But I agree with you on that.
And once you have knowledge by the internet and the ability to engage in commerce, that this is going to greatly improve quality of life for people throughout the world, and it has. And I'd just like to thank anyone in the audience who may have been helpful in, with Starlink and getting it to approved in their country. And I think it's doing a lot of good on the countries that have approved it, which is, I think at this point, 130 countries are very happy with it. I don't currently anticipate SpaceX getting into the weapons business. That's not an aspiration. We're frequently asked to do weapons programs, but we have thus far declined.
Do you envisage SpaceX or indeed...
Listen, if we get a Death Star, he'll win me over again. If we get a Death Star...
We're gonna get a ray gun.
Dude,
We're gonna get a ray gun.
If I get a Death Star, fuck it. I'm down.
I want a ray gun.
Fascism.
I want a ray gun.
Dude, let's go. Listen, if we get a Death Star, we get ray guns. We get laser guns, dude.
Dude, I'm down.
The
They
only
didn't even
thing
join the fucking gun market. I don't know what they're waiting for.
the only thing is, will we have stormtrooper aim? That is the true question.
No, we won't.
Well, listen, Tesla's producing.
Stormtroopers was with who?
Listen,
who was their DNA?
Listen, now that I'm thinking about it, it might not be the stormtroopers' fault. It might have been the gun manufacturer's fault. They might have just made a bad gun that shoots inaccurately. So, if we get a Tesla gun, I don't know.
Indeed, Starlink as a separate entity publicly listing in the near future or at all?
It's possible that Starlink may go public at some point in the future.
And what would be the time frame?
Starlink.
What kind of time frame are you considering?
I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush to go public. Public is, I guess, a way to potentially make more money, but at the expense of a lot of public company overhead and inevitably a whole bunch of lawsuits, which are very annoying. So really, something needs to be done about the shareholder derivative lawsuits in the U.S. Because it allows plaintiffs' law firms who don't represent the shareholders to pretend that they represent the shareholders by getting a puppet plaintiff with a few shares to initiate a massive lawsuit against the company. And the irony being that, extreme irony, that even if the class they purport to represent were to vote that they don't want the lawsuit would still continue. So how can it be a class?
Yeah, because it could be just a small portion. That's the whole point. Not everyone has to agree that the thing that's a dumb fucking point.
Action representing a class if the class vote against it. And that's the bizarre situation we've got in the U.S. It's a dire need of reform. As anyone who's run a public company, you've experienced this. It's an absurd situation that needs to change.
Well, do you think Donald Trump might change it? You've certainly got his ear. I imagine that you've put this to him. Is this something you're trying to change before any Starlink IPO?
Well, it would need a law to be passed. But the trouble being that you need 60 Senate votes, and the Democrats will vote against it. The plaintiff's bar is, I believe, the second largest contributor to the Democratic Party. That's the issue. At the state level, this can be solved. And I should say, Texas recently passed a law which, at least the state level, made lawsuits much more reasonable, because you have to get at least 1 in 33 shareholders to agree that they are part of a class of shareholders. 3%.
Yeah, 3%. That's insignificant. Ugh, god damn it.
Okay. This will really help with frivolous lawsuits.
Okay.
It would still be frivolous. Like, if only 3%, it would still be frivolous to your eyes. If not, the whole class would still not be agreeing on it. Like, it's still to your point that, but you're just like, yeah, this is good. 3%.
Let's talk about AI.
And I don't disagree. Putting a minimum bar is probably smart, but it's just like, okay, like, it just seems like you're just bitching to bitch.
Which is in so many of your businesses and in all our worlds in different ways. It's one of the big changes, the development of generative AI, since you last spoke to this forum 3 years ago. You're in this space, of course, with Grok, which almost everyone will know. You co-founded OpenAI and then left, and you've obviously got a legal battle with OpenAI and Sam Altman. I wonder if you could say something about the status of that, because you were together and...
Dude, I can't tell if she's just being, like, cheeky about it, like, or if this is supposed to be confrontational or not. Like, it's weird. Like, I feel like she poses hard questions, but doesn't, like, really stick them on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think she's just... I don't think she wrote the questions. Maybe someone else wrote them.
Maybe.
And she's just delivering it the way. Because like the way she's delivering it is like not bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like
She seems very upfront about what she's asking.
yeah. Even when he was like, I don't want to talk about that. She's just moved on. She's like, okay,
Yeah.
So I don't think she's being confrontational. It's just like I feel like his whole life just feels like confrontation at this point.
It's probably like questions people want answers for or something.
Yeah. What up, Ozzy?
In Saudi Arabia with the president last week, with Sam Altman. In the same place at the same time.
Dave, that's probably true. You don't want to press someone to the point that they don't want to come back. So you're probably right. Yeah.
No, but in Qatar, they can always pay him.
That is true. And this is an economic forum, so I feel like he would want to show up to these. Especially when you have like
I feel like this is the first one he's ever showed up to, no?
No, he was there like he's been there several times.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Sam was in the neighborhood.
Okay, so does that mean you are pushing ahead with the lawsuit against OpenAI?
Yes. So look, I came up with the name OpenAI as an open source and as a nonprofit, and I funded OpenAI for the first roughly $50 million, and it was intended to be a nonprofit open source company.
Is he talking about ChatGPT?
OpenAI, but they work with that. That's why I'm just like
to change.
That lawsuit is so fucking complicated. I actually think I might just do a stream of just that lawsuit because there's a lot in there, and I don't think I don't think I want to be here all day debunking like every little thing he says. I think I just want to touch like the major points, you know what I mean? And then if I want to do like breakdowns of specific things, then I'll probably do that because the lawsuit's gonna like require a shit ton of reading on stream, so I would probably do that at a later time.
That for their own financial benefit.
ABS, yeah, it does seem that way, but like from the stuff that I've read, there is some contention that I could see that he would have that would give him some sort of ground, but it's convoluted. It is there's a lot.
Into profit company that is closed source.
What it looks
so
like,
let's say you funded it.
What does it look like?
It looks like he wants it to be non-profit and an open source like thing.
Yeah,
Musk does, but OpenAI just says he's bad faith and is slowing down the company.
The problem is like when you have something that big, you have to like consider like money coming in, how much you're pulling out, right? Like so, them being like I get the idea of being good, right? Like you want this kind of stuff to be open source, but at the same time, like you also need to develop this. So cost and overhead is always going to be one of those things that you're going to have to factor in. So the company does make good points on why they need to do a turnaround from where he was in. That's why I'm just like, it would be one of those streams where I would have to like dive deeper into like each individual thing that they're trying to go through. Because I agree, open source is probably the best way to go with a lot of stuff, but the issue is also like, okay, how much of that is...
If it's open source, who would be funding it, right?
Yeah.
At that point?
Yeah, it's just like
that's probably why you're slowing down the company thing is probably because Musk was trying to pay for most of it or some shit.
Yeah,
or get people to pay for it.
You're at the mercy of like people like Elon who basically can dictate like, okay, this is how much money's coming in and this is what you got to work with, right? Where if you like...
Yeah.
Where if you like are going public with the company, then it's just like, yeah, you don't necessarily have to consider that anymore. That's more, you have a fiduciary responsibility to like your investors, but that's it. Like, Yeah, no, I'm saying I'm not saying that the open source is a funding thing. The open source is just hard to fund, because it's just like, okay, if you're gonna be doing this in open source, you're basically relying on like the nonprofit aspect of it, and then you're at the mercy of someone who is funding the thing. So it unfortunately funding kind of always makes its way in. It's just like I'm not saying that the open source itself is the funding.
A nonprofit to help preserve the Amazon rainforest. But instead of doing that, they became a lumber company, chopped down the forest, and sold the wood. You'd be like, wait a second, that's not what I funded. That's OpenAI.
They've made some changes to their corporate structure, though, haven't they, since? In recognition of what you've said. And
No, that's just what they told the media.
okay.
Also, why do we always resort to that line?
They have partly walked back their plan to restructure the business. I guess that's made no difference to how you feel about it. So you determined to see them in court?
Of course.
Okay. Well, that's certainly going to be one to watch. I also wanted to ask you about AI and regulation, because when you were here last talking to John Micklethwaite, you had some pretty strong words about the risk that AI poses, and you said that you really felt what the US was missing was a federal AI regulator, that, you know, something along the lines of the Food and Drug Administration or
regulations on my market? No. Elon wouldn't stand for that.
the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, you're clearly now in a zone where
That's bureaucracy, okay, guys? We have to take a chainsaw to that. I think we all know that you have to take a chainsaw to that.
you're more on the cutting regulation side than wanting new regulators. So has your view changed on the need for an AI regulator?
Sometimes it takes a different approach to see the possibilities all around you.
You see, now the ad fucked up. I wish it was just like other EV cars that are like advertising during this. That would be funny as fuck.
Well, it's not that I don't think there should be regulators.
I want to see the Mercedes electric one. That looks nice.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like every EV
there should be some number of referees, but that you shouldn't have so many referees that you can't kick the ball without hitting one. In most fields in the U.S., the regulatory burden has grown over time to the point where it's like having more referees than players on the field. And this is a natural consequence of an extended period of prosperity. It's very important to appreciate this. This has happened throughout history. When you have an extended period of prosperity with no existential war, there's no cleansing function for unnecessary laws and regulations. So.
Okay, this is wrong. I don't even have to pull up stuff for this. Like, obviously, laws change over time. They get taken back. Otherwise, in the age of prosperity, we wouldn't be seeing laws being taken out, laws being put in. This is just a stupid fucking talking point that it's just like, oh, we have prosperity, so we just keep stacking fucking laws up and up and up and up and up until it's no longer controllable. That's just stupid. Like, no one actually believes this, and if he does, then he's an actual retard.
What happens is that every year more laws and more regulations are passed because, you know, legislators are going to legislate, regulators are going to regulate.
Also
and you'll get the steady pile of more and more laws and regulations over time until everything is illegal. And let me give.
Okay, just swallow that logic. Just that logic right there. Stupid as fuck. And here's the thing. I don't know if at this point I'm at a weird spot. Also, hi Apex. I'm at a weird point where I don't know if I believe that he believes this or if he doesn't at this point. I'm in a weird spot where I'm just like, is he actually this dumb? Because some of the stuff he says is ridiculously dumb. So, regulators gonna regulate, yeah. I just don't. I just don't know. I just don't know.
Give an example of a truly absurd situation. Under the Biden administration, SpaceX was sued for not hiring asylum seekers in the U.S. Now, the problem is it's actually illegal for SpaceX under ITAR, International Traffic in Arms Regulations, to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident of the United States, because the premise being that they will take advanced rocket technology and return to their home country if they're not a permanent resident. So we're simultaneously in a situation where it is illegal to hire asylum seekers, and is also illegal to hire asylum seekers. And the Biden's Department of Justice chose to prosecute us despite both paths being illegal. Damned if.
Okay. Let's pull up the DOJ's. Okay, so this is from the DOJ archives. Let's put it in chat. So, Justice Department sues SpaceX for discriminating against asylum and refugees in hiring. Okay, so his claim is that he could not hire asylum seekers because it would be violating another law. So it was a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But as we're going to read here, I should probably zoom in for stream, right? Stream, can you guys see this? Or this better? This is better. Let's do this.
Zoom in a little bit.
Yeah. I feel straight. Hello, chat. Can you read this? Chat, is this real? But yeah, okay, so
that's good.
Asylums and refugees with relevant information should contact the Justice Department. The Justice Department filed a lawsuit today against Space Exploration Technologies Corporation, SpaceX, for discriminating against asylums and refugees in hiring. The lawsuit alleges from at least September 2018 to May 2022, SpaceX routinely discouraged asylees and refugees from applying and refused to hire or consider them because of their citizenship status in violation of the Immigration and Nationality Act, the INA. In job postings and public statements over several years, SpaceX wrongfully claimed that under federal regulation known as export control laws, SpaceX could only hire U.S. citizens and lawfully permitted residents, sometimes referred to as green card holders. Export control laws imposed no such hiring restrictions, so that was false. Moreover, asylees and refugees' permission to live and work in the United States does not expire, and they do not stand on equal. They stand on equal footing with U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents under export control laws. Under these laws, companies like SpaceX can hire asylees and refugees for the same positions they could hire in the U.S. citizen and lawful permanent residents. And once hired, asylees and refugees can access export-controlled information and materials without additional government approval, just like a U.S. citizen and lawful permanent resident. Our investigation found that SpaceX failed to fairly consider or hire, I couldn't read there for a second, asylees and refugees because of their citizenship status, and imposed what amounted to a ban on their hire regardless of their qualifications, in violation of federal law. As Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark of the Justice Department, Civil Rights Division, our investigation also found that SpaceX recruiters and high-level officials took actions that actively discouraged asylees and refugees from seeking work opportunities at the company. Asylees and refugees have overcome many obstacles in their lives, and an unlawful employment discrimination based on their citizenship status should not be one of them. Through this lawsuit, we will hold SpaceX accountable for its illegal employment practices and seek relief that allows asylees and refugees to fairly compete for the job opportunities and contribute to their talents of SpaceX force. The department's lawsuit alleges that SpaceX discriminated against asylees and refugees based on citizenship status at multiple stages of the hiring process. For example, SpaceX discouraged asylees and refugees from applying for open positions through public announcements, job applications, and other online recruiting communication that excluded asylees and refugees. SpaceX failed to fairly consider applications submitted by asylees and refugees. SpaceX refused to hire qualified asylees and refugees applicants and repeatedly rejected asylee and refugee applicants because of their citizenship status. SpaceX hired only citizens and lawful permanent residents from September 2018 to September 2020. SpaceX recruiters and hire for a variety of positions, including welders, cooks, crane operators, baristas, and dishwashers, as well as some information technology specialists, software engineers, business analytics, rocket engineers, and marketing professionals. The job at issue in the lawsuits are not limited to those and that required advanced degrees. Asylees and refugees and migrants to the United States who have fled prosecution to obtain their status, they undergo through vetting by the United States government. Under the INA, employers cannot discriminate against them in hiring unless a law, regulation, executive order, or government contract requires the employer to do so. In this instance, no law, regulation, executive order, or government contract required or permitted SpaceX to engage in widespread discrimination against asylees or refugees that the department investigation found, as explained in the complaint. Because SpaceX works with certain goods, software, technology, and technical data, referring to here as export control items, SpaceX must comply with export control laws and regulations, including the International Traffic and in Arms Regulation and the Export Administration Regulations. Under these regulations, asylees, refugees, and lawful permanent residents, United States citizens, and U.S. nationals working at the U.S. company can access export-controlled items without authorization from the United States government. Therefore, these laws do not require SpaceX to treat asylees and refugees different than the U.S. citizen or green card holders. And then it goes into contact information to go into the case. But as we read through all of that, the Justice Department clearly lines out that no, what he's saying is bullshit. You can hire these people, you just are refusing to, which violated the INA. Like, you can make a case that the INA is unfair, but don't go on an interview and try and portray this as a situation where if I followed this, I'd be breaking law, and if I didn't follow it, I'd be breaking law. That's just obviously not true, as laid out through the Justice Department. So, it's just one of these things where I'm just like, yeah, he just says shit, but I never got like why people do this, especially when this stuff is like easily like accessible, right? Like I don't think people are stupid enough to like be like, yep, that's 100% right, and then no one would actually look into it. Also, hey Whitwood, but yeah, let's get back to it. I just to point out that this is some bullshit. Even the Department of Justice told them, yeah, that's not true. Even though they're trying to make the claim. So
if you do, damned if you don't.
But my question was specifically about a regulator for AI, which you said 3 years ago was needed, and you said we need to be proactive on the regulation of AI rather than reactive. Have you changed your mind on that?
No, of course not. No, of course not. What I'm saying is that there should be some referees on the field, a few referees, but you should
It's not that they should be forced to hire immigrants also, Dave, or non-citizens. Um it's that you can't discriminate against them. That's the only thing there. Like if you're taking active steps to discriminate against them, then that's where the line is drawn. That that's kind of like the reasoning where I'm just like, if you don't want to hire them, then I don't know that then you can go down that route. But what's up, Krav?
Yeah, I don't know. If I had a big company, I want to know someone's going to be there or feel like they could be there for a long time, or someone's like
For sure.
on a visa or a green card, they're not a citizen. Like, you don't want to know, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to fucking rehire in 2-3 years.
Yeah, but
what's
like
the point?
if I like am hiring you as a barista, do I really care? Like
I could be really particular about how I like my coffee.
like that's kind of the issue at hand. Like if this was like all analytical like stuff and it was violating some sort of law, then yeah, obviously like he has the right to do
It would
that.
also depend. It would also depend on the culture in the company. Like if you could start at any job and have the opportunities to work up into other fields, if I had that established in my company, I'd probably be picky about the barista too.
Maybe at that point, but it's just like okay, so it isn't until you're a lawful permanent resident that you would be considered. This is a weird line to draw. In certain cases, I can understand it if there's like something that you're violating. Like I can understand like trying to maintain company secrets or trying to make sure that information doesn't get out. I can understand that to a degree, but the issue at hand is most countries have discriminatory laws that make sure that like everyone has a fair hiring process. Like if you're qualified, you're qualified, you know? Especially coming from like he talks about meritocracy a lot where like if you're qualified, you should just fucking get the job, right? Not just because you don't have legal status or legal permanent
Maybe.
status. So it just seems like a weird line to draw, and I'm mostly focusing in on like because I could agree to some of the like premises, but I'm mostly commenting on how he's framing this because the way he's framing this is that he would be violating a law if he upheld the INA.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, oh, if I actually uphold this, I'd be breaking the Justice Department's thing. So legal status, yes, for sure. It's just that's why I clarified with like permanent residence being the thing.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at Soren.
Oh no, I see. I see. But yeah, that's like just my nitpicking point where it's just like, okay. Yeah, just yeah. I what I mean by that is lawful permanent residence, right? Like I don't think that should be the requirement. If you're a green card holder, obviously you have legal status in the U.S. and or even before then, if you're on a visa, like H-1Bs, like you could technically not hire them. So it just seems like a weird standard to hold for your company. But at the same time, I can understand not wanting to regulate a company's hiring process. But then like how do you evaluate whether something is discriminatory or not? So yeah, for this one, it's just more that the DOJ laid out their argument, and it seems pretty solid that he would be allowed to hire refugees. He just doesn't want to, and to make it a case of like, oh, if I did this, then I'd be breaking the law is just stupid. But yeah.
Yeah.
shouldn't have a field jam-packed with referees such that you could not kick a ball in any direction without hitting one. So the fields that have been around for a long time, such as automotive, so aerospace, the sort of food and drug industries, are over-regulated, but the new fields, like artificial intelligence, are under-regulated. In fact, there is no regulator at all.
So there should be.
So
Do you still think that?
Wait, you agree with like overregulated?
No. I don't agree with regulation at all. I think a person should be able to run their company however they see fit. If they want to be racist and discriminate and whatever, then there'll be like a social impact on that company. But if they want to fuck around, they can find out.
Necessarily true though. Like I can understand that argumentation, but like when you have like monopoly setting the price to something that is like necessary, like let's say
I believe there shouldn't be a monopoly.
Yeah,
I think monopolies should be heavily regulated against.
Or like if they,
but as far as individual company regulation, I don't think there should be any.
The thing is, you have to have some sort of regulation because what's to stop like multiple companies from coming together and being like, hey, we're all gonna set the price of insulin to $3,000 for each like insulin shot. Like, you have to have something to stop them from doing that. Because ultimately, the default is people are shitty.
What are you going to do? Are you going to regulate the price? Are you going to force a company what price they're allowed to sell something at?
You set caps. Like, we have regulatory caps.
Yeah, no, I think that's like maybe there should be some kind of regulation on a profit margin, like the cost of manufacture versus the price you can sell it at. But I don't think you should be able to dictate what price the company sets it at.
Yeah, fair practices are a thing. That's why I'm just like. But the issue is like we saw it when we didn't have like these when we didn't have a lot of these laws in place, that companies will always default to like doing the profit.
But I also believe, actually, I go back on that. If companies want to get together like that, then go hard. That just opens up an opportunity for a company to come in who isn't in that agreement and sell it for cheaper. I think medicines and stuff like that should not be.
The problem is
trademarkable or copyrightable, or I'm the only one who's allowed to fucking manufacture this. I think that's bullshit because medicines,
the discoveries, like when you have a company, when you have a company that big, it's hard to compete with them. They can stomp you out of the ground immediately. They can make sure you never enter the like thing.
How?
They can sign exclusivity deals. They can do a bunch of weird shit to like maneuver you out of the market. That's why that's why big companies aren't allowed to do this stuff as well.
Yeah.
That's why regulations are a very necessary point, because again, companies will always default to the shit thing to do. Like, as there's like, they'll always go to the profit part of their brain. But I mean, that's good for the company, right? But that's not good for the overall health of like an economic like growth, or like the economic growth of a society.
And I prefer to let pieces of shit act like pieces of shit so people can see it.
Yeah, I agree. Like you like, if he's acting like this and Tesla stocks go down, right? That's fine, right? But what I'm saying is like Tesla shouldn't like be able to like hold every EV and be like, we're gonna put like this super ridiculous number on it and be like, we're gonna fucking run this fucking market. And they have to be able to be regulated at some point. Otherwise safety standards will never be met, right? Because who's setting those standards?
So you're saying there'll be a lack of competition?
It's not lack of competition, it's just lack of accountability on the company at that point, because how do you even like find any legal recourse against them? Like, the reason like class action lawsuits do really well against like big companies like this, like the thing that he was bitching about earlier, that if a company is doing something that would be against the fiduciary responsibilities that they have, or are performing badly, then you can hold them accountable. But if there are no regulatory things, like how do you hold that company accountable in any way? Like, there's always has to be some level of regulation. Now, whether we argue that we are at a point, like he's saying, like we're at a point where there's so many referees on the field that if you kick the ball, you're going to hit one of them. like you can make that argument. That's fine. I just think that there is a healthy level of regulation that a market needs to survive, because capitalism on its own, like just pure capitalism, will not survive the test of time.
Yeah, I agree that there should be regulation on the external practices of a company, but I don't think there should be any regulation on the internal practices.
Explain that a bit more.
Like your hiring and shit like that. I don't think that's anyone's fucking business. You say safety things that impact employees and impact external, yeah, like that sort of shit. Yeah. How your company behaves and deals that they make, and
but fucking then how do you make
any malicious behavior?
How do you maintain that, like, a work environment that would be not necessarily crazy for the employees? Like, let's say I can, like,
how is that anyone's fucking business? If the employee thinks the work environment's crazy, get another job, work somewhere else.
If every job is running you 120 hours and that's the standard, like, what are you going to do?
But every job isn't. That's the point. That's why it's a competitive free market. If
bigger companies are doing that, then yeah, everyone has to compete. That's the whole point. Like, that they set the standard, right? Like,
no, because they don't get to set the standard. You're talking about like shit work where they're not competing for the best employees.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, like, even in like even in like STEM fields. STEM fields have super regulated. They don't allow you to work after a certain amount of time. There's just so much shit that internally they have to keep up to date on whether they are violating some sort of law. Now, some people would argue that's bad, but I would say that promotes a pretty good work environment.
You're not company. DEI. I don't know why you're fighting this so hard. You're not DEI. You're fine. You'll be fine. It's okay.
It's not about that. But yeah, like DEI, like we can argue that DEI is fucking stupid, right? Like I can agree to that aspect, but it's like having no regulations internally doesn't make sense to me. Like there has to be.
It 100% does.
It has to have some level of regulation. Otherwise, you can overwork your employees. You can do whatever you want, and they have to take it.
Because the employees fucking quit, and then you don't have a company.
Okay, then how do you set a minimum wage?
That's an external factor.
That's not an external factor. That's an internal factor.
Yes, it is.
The external is the reason why you would say that's external is because of the regulatory body that's saying this is what you must pay your workers. This is the minimum.
No,
this is the bar.
That's an external fucking factor, though.
No, that's an internal factor, because you're saying that the company cannot pay below that amount to their employees.
Well, then you're saying that safety standards are an internal factor too.
They are. They are. So safety standards are internal.
Society decides this is the standard you have to meet.
Like there are external safety. There are external safety standards. I'll agree to that. But there's a lot of internal safety standards. It's not all.
Yeah, but they go beyond the standard. You can have your internal fucking like discussion and fucking delegate what your internal standards are above the external standard.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what I'm saying.
You can't go below.
But
that's all the minimum wage is.
To set the standard. That's to set the standard. To be like the government steps in and is like, this is what you must pay an employee. This is the bare minimum. Which is the bare minimum. But that's already regulating what the company does. Because the company can.
Yeah, but
that's why we have this issue of like. That's why they talk about this humongous issue of like shipping off factories to other countries where these things aren't like a part of it, right? That's a regulatory body that's controlling them internally.
Yeah, so would you say that maybe safety standards were bad for American society because they shipped all the work overseas?
The thing is, like, I don't agree to the premise that we shipped everything overseas. Like if you look at if you look at like America's manufacturing, we're doing more manufacturing than we ever have in history.
You're doing different manufacturing.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wants to build old V8 muscle cars?
Yeah, that's the issue that most people don't understand. Like I don't want to sit here and like fucking put headphone jacks into like an iPod, like, right?
Yeah.
Like,
fuck that.
I'm not that guy. So for that, I would say that's kind of the thing.
Have companies operate by a standard, but when it comes to hiring practices, anything beyond their standards, it's no one's fucking business.
Yeah. The issue, like, I think South Africa runs into this problem a lot. At least currently is running into the problem where you had apartheid be a thing, so they did an overcorrection to like make sure that black citizens wouldn't be discriminated against, and that's had a chilling effect instead of like having like, but it's about trying to set the standard into the norm, and then you can slowly release the like pressure on like the gauge, right? But that's all these things are. Like, yes, you don't want companies discriminating against immigrants.
Yes, you do.
So
you want them to be able to.
You don't want necessarily just for on the basis of them being an immigrant. You want them to have like some like.
Why is that not their right as a company?
Because like, hey, here's the thing. They'll also argue that you should be hired on like the DEI thing is that you should be hired on the merit of what you can do, not for your status. That's super dumb to fucking. But then they'll argue. Then they'll argue the whole thing where it's just like.
Okay, so being a company like Tesla, how many job applications do you think they get? And how many job applications to be a fucking barista? And to be a barista in a company, a Western company where everyone speaks English, do you really want people to have to fucking deal with someone who can barely speak the fucking language handing you your coffee? Probably not. When a company's like time's money and they're fucking trying to build shit, you don't want to sit there and fucking struggle trying to explain your fucking hazelnut frappuccino to someone who barely can fucking talk.
For sure, that falls onto the meritocracy. If they don't fucking speak the language, then yeah, obviously don't hire them. Yeah. Right, but but I mean, like, that's a different reasoning than just being like you're an immigrant. Like let's say I just moved into the country right now. Like I came here as a refugee. My English is just the same as it is right now. I go to an employer. Well, but I know this is a weird. Probability. Yes, I know this is an extreme. This is an extreme hypothetical to explain the point, though. If I show up to a company and I put in my application, they talk to me, they see me, and then they deny me only on the basis that I'm an immigrant. That'd be stupid. Okay. I'd be like, wait, what the fuck?
You're not just an outlier in that situation. You're a fucking outlier of an outlier, motherfucker. So that's like a pretty weird hypothetical trying to bring up. But like,
it's just to illustrate the point.
Real quick, just consider how many applications they get, right? Yeah. And how many interviews they would have done, and like they get people in, they go, okay, and they see a pattern emerging. Yeah. And every time there's someone who's an immigrant, we don't hire them because they can't speak their language properly, and we need people to be able to read and talk English in our company.
You can set those standards.
You're going to get to the point where you go, okay, don't even put that on the interview pile because it's an immigrant, and 1,000 out of the 1,000 immigrants that we've interviewed, we don't hire. So we're wasting time even interviewing them.
For sure. And like, here's what you do in that situation. You put in the standard of like, okay, because like, I think anyone who's applied for a job, they'll give you a sheet of things that you must be able to do, right? Like, you must have this much training, you must speak this language, blah, 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 speak these other languages. Like, you can go down that line. That's fine. But the issue is you would not be able to discriminate just on the basis of them being a refugee or them being an asylum seeker. That's it. That's the only thing that laid out. And them going through that court case proves that it was just like, okay, you were doing this, and the DOJ thought it was enough of an offense that they would address it. Because honestly, the DOJ kind of leaves these big companies alone for the most cases. And let's remember, this is like in 2018. Like, this isn't like, as much as he wants to call it Biden's administration, right? This was happening during the I'm not defending this fuck. Yeah, he's making retarded excuses. Yeah, like he this was happening during the Trump administration.
And what? Oh, how you all want to fuck off? That's it.
But yeah, but I would just say like that just to have the hiring process be just based on that, like I can understand your logic where it's just like they don't like if you don't speak the language, 100% understand. That's gonna make it's gonna make, why would I dedicate time and training into someone that is probably gonna fail in the job that I'm gonna hand them, right? That's
They can speak the language, but like certain countries, even once they learn,
well, I'm just saying as an example,
bro,
like of like
just
setting
the accent, you can still barely bro, we're talking a fucking Haku. He's from fucking England, can barely understand that motherfucker half the time.
Well, that's like saying, okay, so if you came to the U.S., people wouldn't hire you for having the Aussie accent. Like that's a weird.
Yeah,
fucking
that'd be
thing.
understandable.
That'd
but
be
actually,
weird.
Australians are pretty. Bro, Australians as baristas in America, you wouldn't even believe how easy that is.
Yeah, for sure. I like. I'm not saying like that. That's the thing. It's just like. But if like a company was just like, yeah, their accent, I just cannot understand it, I'd be like, you're fucking crazy. Personally, that your guys' accent isn't too off the wall. But what I'm saying is
to lose the genetic lottery.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where, but I think the DOJ laid out their case pretty well, and just for him to twist this into this situation, it's just bullshit to me.
Yeah, he's it.
But yeah, let's continue, because we still have half the video, and we have stretched this into an hour and 40 minutes.
Do you find it
Yeah.
What?
suspicious that he's wearing the same jacket as Mel? Really?
Oh.
Coincidence?
Maybe.
So I'm simply saying, which I think is just basic common sense, that you want to have at least you want to have a few referees in the field. You don't want to have an army of referees, but you want to have a few referees on any given field, in any given sport, or even any given arena, industrial arena, to ensure that public safety is taken care of. But you don't have so there's a proper number of referees. Like I said, it's actually very easy to visualize this when compared to sports. If the whole field is packed with referees, that would look absurd.
I don't know why he has to make the distinction to sports when he's already using referees. Like, I think most people's minds go there. Right? Is that just me? Or maybe he's just that autistic. I don't know. That might just be a me thing.
But if there were no referees at all, your game's not going to be as good.
I'm a retard.
It is a nitpick. I am nitpicking. Don't get me wrong, Dave. That's what I'm doing today.
But
that's
I didn't have
the
the screen
point
share up.
Oh,
But I had your stream up. I was waiting for you to play the stream tab up, apparently.
not just jump in the screen share. That's why I put it on first. Sorry, because Sorry was watching this stream and I was like, oh wait, that's gonna be like 5 seconds behind. Yeah, like, but I think that's the smart thing to do, Apex. Like, honestly, if you're running $1 billion fucking company, just stay in the back. Well, don't fucking talk. Let that company do its thing. Why the fuck would you want to ruin that shit? Like, because obviously, like he said earlier, he's motivated by profit. Like, and it may not be the only thing, but we're all motivated by profit.
Okay, so let's then talk about your new world, your role advising government. You are in this unique and unprecedented position of having billions of dollars worth of contracts with the federal government yourself, mostly through SpaceX, and also now an
Okay, this is about to get contentious.
Insider's knowledge of it because of Doge. Can you see that there is a conflict of interest or a potential conflict of interest in broad terms just through that very fact?
I don't think so, actually. There have been many advisors throughout history and in the U.S. government and others who have had economic interests.
Also, chat, pay attention. Pay attention. Because he's going to describe that he's just an advisor. Okay?
And I am simply an advisor. I don't have formal power. And that's it. The president can choose to accept my advice or not. And that's how it goes. If there's a single contract that any of my companies have received that people think is somehow not was awarded improperly, it would immediately be front page news, to say the least. And And if I didn't mention it, certainly my competitors would. So if you're not seeing that, then clearly there's not a conflict of interest.
Apex, don't be surprised. It has been just constant like shenanigans during this thing. But I do have one thing pulled up. It's not necessarily a contract that has been lost, but it was in the news because it was a weird conflict that Doge was looking at. If you do not recall this, the U.S. DOT says Verizon is not moving fast enough on its $2.4 billion FAA contract. Essentially, the FAA hired Verizon to do a bunch of air traffic control stuff, and then we see Starlink being implicated in this for later. I think it even goes down in this article to explain that government facilities are using Starlink in Alaska, but this does not necessarily mean that the Verizon contracts being lost to Starlink. I just think that it is a conflict of interest to even be like in reviewing your competitors' contracts with the federal government. And I don't think anyone can make a case otherwise. Right? Like, maybe I don't know, Crab. How do you feel about this one? Because you seem to be on my other side today.
I don't know, bro. I'm not too worried about any of it. I think the company's company.
Yeah, like Dave, Doge did review this contract. That's why I'm just like, I don't know if you want a company that is your direct competitor to be reviewing your potential contracts with the federal government.
Did Doge review SpaceX contracts at all?
Yes, they did.
Find anything wrong? Did they?
No.
Wouldn't think so.
That's why I'm just like there are instances of this happening, and it to say that the media hasn't talked about it. Obviously, we're reading one thing about it, but yeah, it's just it's silly to fucking be like, yeah, if there's a conflict of interest, I'm gonna recluse myself. Like government shouldn't work on the faith that you're gonna be doing the best interest at all times, right? Like, obviously, especially like when you're reviewing contracts like this. But as he pointed out, he is just an advisor. Oh, Avius, it is a conflict of interest, but it's not about a corrupt thing. It's just like you shouldn't be reviewing your competitors' contracts. Like that just seems weird. It's not like he removed it. I'm not saying that he made that move. I'm just saying that it's a weird position to be in, and I don't know if you can claim that there is no conflict of interest on there. But yeah, I would agree that there are more pressing things happening on the right at the moment. But today we're just making fun of this rich man. So
yeah.
There's another way, though, to look at it. That, for example, you have many competitors, whether it's companies like Boeing or companies who would like to do more of the kind of work you do for NASA, Blue Origin, Rocket Lab. And because Doge is in every federal government department, you or people who work for Doge, and you are the driving force behind it, have an insight into those companies' affairs and those companies' relationships.
I don't think he knows fucking anything about anything, dude.
Him?
I don't think he's got his hands on any levers. You seen this motherfucker playing Power of Exile?
Yeah,
like, he's just doing the same shit in real life, just paying other people to do shit and then claims the glory.
But that's the issue. Like, if what was the four heads of the fucking Doge people were all fucking worker, that they were all like his like people, like they would be reporting this to him, like, right? Like, it's maybe he's not personally looking through these contracts, but he's the head of a company that is just competing in the market that that is like directly observing contracts from like other competitors, and that's just a weird position to be in.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, all we do is we review the organization to see if the organization has departments that are no longer relevant, and then are the contracts that are being awarded good value for money? In fact, frankly, the bar is not particularly high. Is there any value for money in a contract? And if there isn't, then we make recommendations to the secretary. The secretary can then choose to take those actions or not take those actions, and that's it. And then any action that is as a function of Doge is posted to the Doge website and to the Doge.gov or at Doge handle on the X platform. So it's.
Let's not even talk about the rollout of that fucking website, because that was just a fucking debacle. But
it's complete transparency, and I've not seen any case where, to the best of my knowledge, there's even been an accusation of conflict, because it is completely and utterly transparent. Okay. That's it.
And what about the international dimension? Now, let's think about Starlink. Starlink is obviously a very, very good internet service. It's sought after all over the world. It's critical to the front line in Ukraine. It has also had more contracts.
What? Why not just to the agencies that audit whatever department that the company may and look at the report? You do not need to look into the contracts. Well, it's because of the way Doge is laid out. So there's big Doge and little Doge, which little Doge is working within like every department, and then you have big Doge, which is like the advisory role, where it's just like they give the recommendations, blah blah. But yeah, the way they lay their stuff out in the website, and we'll do this in another stream, but I'll break that down for you guys, where it's the way they lay that out is like contracts that have not been met in full, or contracts that haven't even been paid out, have been added into how much money is saved, even though, or that money that has already gone out. So it's a weird thing that there is like barely any transparency going on with this, but
coming its way, and there is some evidence that companies are allowing access to it because they want to be close to the Trump administration and send the right signal. So Bloomberg broke news today that the South African government is working around the rules on black ownership in order to allow Starlink in, and that is being done on the eve of the visit that President Ramaphosa is going to make to the White House. Do you recognize that as a conflict of interest?
No, of course not. First of all, you should be questioning why are there racist laws in South Africa? That's the first problem. That's what you should be attacking. It's improper for there to be racist laws in South Africa. The whole idea with what Nelson Mandela, who was a great man, proposed was that all races should be on an equal footing in South Africa. That's the right thing to do, not to replace one set of racist laws with another set of racist laws, which is utterly wrong and improper. So that's the deal, that all races should be treated equally, and there should be no preference given to one or the other. Whereas there are now 140 laws in South Africa that give that basically give strong preference to if you're a black South African, and not otherwise. And so now I'm in this absurd situation where I was born in South Africa but cannot get a license to operate in Starlink because I'm not black.
Well, it looks like that's about. Looks like that's about to change.
I just asked you a question. Please answer. Does that seem right to you?
Well, those rules were designed to bring.
Yes or no?
Those rules were designed to bring about an era of more economic equality in South Africa, and it.
Yeah, just to address it. Yeah, it was, those rules were put in place after apartheid to make sure that essentially to force equality. But the issue is when you try to do that, you are playing into the hand. So I could agree to a certain degree that they can be perceived as racist laws. It's just reasoning kind of is important here, where it's just like, okay, if I want to address this thing, like, and I want to make sure that it's happening, that I have to put
It
something.
doesn't matter. It's discrimination. This is a poor, downtrodden white man, white billionaire we're talking about. Can you please be empathetic?
Oh, okay, sorry. That's correct. That's fuck yeah. He's not black, so he can't get a business license. That even though that's not what the BBBEE would says. I think it's like it has to be like 30% black owned, but or I think it was even a workforce, but yeah. Yeah, like you can make the argument that they're racist laws. I tried to look at a comprehensive list of these 140 that he refers to, but I couldn't find any. I know that the BBBEE is strangely set up where if this happened in the US, I don't know if I would be okay with it. So that's why I'm just like I could somewhat agree with the position of like, hey, we should remove this, especially since we're far out enough from apartheid that that it's not really necessary at this point. You know what I mean? But that'd be the sticking point that I would go.
A long time ago. Long time ago.
Not a long time ago, but you know.
It was a long time ago.
But it's long enough that I think society would have regulated at this point. You don't need those. But people have been fighting against those laws. Like South African people have been fighting against those laws for a decade now and trying to get them removed. So
looks like the government has found a way around those rules for you.
Range Rover. We need more car ads. I'm actually appreciating the car ads today.
Ask you a question.
This is your interview. Everyone wants to hear from you.
Ask you a question. Yes or no?
Not
Racist
for me.
laws, yes or no?
Not for me to answer. I have got a question for you about your government work though and the amount of savings.
Why do you like racist laws?
This is not for me to answer. Come on.
Yes, it is.
Now you wouldn't be trying to dodge a question.
You have to ask
It's
a question.
difficult for
I
you
answer
to
my
answer.
question. No, you answer
Look,
mine.
I think if you, I'm sure you can have that conversation directly with the South African government if you want to. I want to ask you about the total.
I can't believe it. That's not good.
I want to ask you about the total
Why do you love
amount.
racist laws?
I want to ask you about the total amount that you're.
Like, dude, is it just me? Is it just me? Like, the way he drinks shit is so weird. It is so weird. Like, is that just me?
What's weird about it?
I have no idea.
Planning.
It like hits a weird part of it. It's like that uncanny valley shit. Or
About the total amount.
Look at this.
I want to ask you about the total amount that you're planning.
Oh, he's autistic. He's just autistic. He's gone through like training about like eye contact. So he's like doesn't break eye contact the whole fucking time, like a freak.
Give me a second. Talk for a second and keep the crowd entertained. I'm putting up a shot.
Hello, everybody. How's everyone this evening? Or today? What's going on, chat?
Okay, I got
Smokey's got shit internet.
Yeah.
Sean's got shit memes.
We got a meme. We got the supervillain meme.
Aegis has shit takes and shit research.
But yeah, like, this is just too accurate. I fucking hate this. What the fuck? Oh, he is Lex Luthor. But yeah, thank you for the meme, Sean. But it just hits that weird part of my brain.
225. What's that in pounds? Motherfucker, that's like, what's it, like a 90 kilo? 100 kilo? I'll go do some reps right now for you. Reps for Apex.
Yeah, also, like, yeah, the gotcha shit is just so fucking annoying. It's just like, just fucking be, like, what happened to being professional?
Under 2 kilograms, you were close.
Like, wait, you?
Soaring randomly chimes in.
Yeah, he had that right on point. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
This is why he's our Jamie, dude. He's just on point with this crap. I'm just like, Jesus. But let's continue.
Save through Doge's work. Before the election, you said it was going to be at least 2 trillion. The number currently on doge.gov is $170 billion. That's a big change. What happened to the 2 trillion?
Well, do you expect it to happen immediately?
Well, is it going to happen? Because Doge is supposed to run till next July.
I mean, your question is absurd in its fundamental premise. Are you assuming that on day, within a few months, this an instant 2 trillion saved?
Dude, he's been using the day one talking point so much that it was like integrated into his brain. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I caught that. This motherfucker has been using that talking point for too much, and now it's just like burned into his brain.
No, I'm not at all. I'm just asking, is that still your aim then?
Do you think on day one we could achieve such success that, the whole, like, Trump was going to end the war in day one kind of shit?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, this, like, day one talking point is just like let me go back.
No, you're good. I understand what you mean.
Well, just so the chat knows.
Because Doge is supposed to run till next July.
I mean, your question is absurd in its fundamental premise. Are you assuming that on day, within a few months, this an instant 2 trillion saved?
No, I'm not at all. I'm just asking, is that still your aim then? Is it still your aim to get to 2 trillion?
The amount of time? Have we not made good progress given the amount of time?
That's exactly what I'm asking. So is it still your aim to go from 170 billion to 2 trillion?
The ability of Doge to operate is a function of whether the government, and this includes the Congress, is willing to take our advice. We are not the dictators of the government; we are the advisors, and so we can advise. And the progress we've made thus far, I think, is incredible. The Doge team has done incredible work, but the magnitude of the savings is proportionate to the support we get from Congress and from the executive branch of the government in general. So we're not the dictators, we are the advisors. But thus far, for advisors, the Doge team, to their credit, has made incredible progress.
You've talked about 4 billion.
He's so dead-eyed. This is so weird.
Dollars a
This might be grok. Honestly, this might be grok.
day being saved, but that won't get. And I think everyone can agree that combating waste and inefficiency in government is a very good thing. But if you add that up, it's not going to get to 2 trillion over the lifetime of Doge.
I'm sorry.
The 4 billion a day.
Trump's the dictator. He's just the advisor.
If Doge is going to run till next July, is not going to get you to $2 trillion. But you still say it's your aim, so we'll take that as read.
There's what Doge. I mean, I feel you're somewhat trapped in the NPC dialogue tree of a traditional journalist. So it's difficult when.
Also,
why are you laughing?
Because listen to him. Listen and see if you catch the same thing I caught there.
PC dialogue tree of a traditional journal.
NPC dialogue tree
of a traditional virtue, and then he stops because his brain was just like not the right word.
Yeah.
He was just gonna be virtue signaling. Like, his brain is on just talking points, dude. He's literally just on talking points. If told A, repeat B.
Journalist. So it's difficult when I'm conversing with someone who's trapped in the dialogue tree of a conventional journalist, because it's like talking to a computer. Doge is an advisory group. We are doing the best we can as an advisory group. The progress made thus far as an advisory group is excellent. I don't think any advisory group has done better in the history of advisory groups for the government. We do not make the laws, nor do we control the judiciary, nor do we control the executive branch. We are simply advisors. In that context, we are doing very well. Beyond that, we cannot we cannot take action beyond that because we are not some sort of imperial dictator of the government. There are three branches of the government.
Remember, this is also the guy that said he was going to take a chainsaw to bureaucracy. So, just to let you know, he's just an advisor.
Government that are to some degree opposed to that level of cost savings. But nonetheless, let's not criticize whether there's 4 trillion, and instead look at the fact that
I almost said democracy, but I could say democracy, but bureaucracy is what he said, so I have to be correct on that.
60 billion has been saved, and more will be saved too.
And as I said, I think everyone can agree that cutting waste and indeed fraud in any government and being responsible with taxpayers' money is a very good thing. So
yes.
I can see that you're proud of that work. I do want to ask you about US aid and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already.
That's
I wondered.
Also,
and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is: have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Nationwide is more than you think.
Definitely. Their resources help me create customized retirement income plans that help clients feel more confident.
Helping them get in their comfort zone, their retirement comfort zone.
Good zone.
Like my other favorite zone, Cal Zone.
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that is true. It's false. What we found with USAID cuts, and by the way, they haven't all been cut. The parts of USAID that we found to be even slightly useful were transferred to the State Department. So they've not been deleted; they've simply been transferred to the State Department. But many times over with USAID and other organizations, when they said, "Oh well, this is going to help, children, or it's going to help some disease eradication or something like that," and then when we ask for any evidence whatsoever, I say, "Well, please connect us with this group of children so we can talk to them and understand more about their issue." We get nothing.
He wants a show orphan, okay? If you don't get that, he wants a show orphan. It's like, show me the kid that's dying of fucking hunger. Show me him.
We don't even try to prevent show. We should come up with a show orphan, meaning like.
He says it. I forgot he says it. God damn it. Also, let's point out, if it provides any value was his statement earlier, right? That was the bar that he set for the companies that he was competing against. But this seems like a weird bar.
It's sort of like, well, can we at least see a few kids? Like, where are they? If they're in trouble, we'd like to talk to them and talk to their caregivers. Okay, well, and then we get nothing as a response because it's what we find is an enormous amount of fraud and graft.
Okay, let me put this example to you.
Very little of it actually gets to the kids, if anything at all.
Okay, let me put this example to you because you grew up in South Africa, so you'll know the impact of HIV/AIDS well. And this is why I asked about the data. The US led on international efforts to combat HIV/AIDS treatment, prevention, and there's an initiative called PEPFAR, which is credited with saving 26 million lives in the last 20 years. It was part of the foreign aid freeze. Then there was a limited waiver. Its services are disrupted. And UN aid says if permanently discontinued, there will be another 4 million AIDS-related deaths by 2029. So,
listen, Apex. He's literally just a political mouthpiece now. That's all he is. Like, he's fallen off. He's fallen off the insanity trip, and that's how we have the title today.
So if you look at that example, which is backed up by data, in 2023, 630,000 people died of AIDS-related illnesses, then perhaps Bill Gates' figures are not wrong. Millions of lives could be lost.
First of all, the program, the AIDS medication program is continuing. So your fundamental premise is wrong. It is continuing. Now, do you have another example?
Elon, not in its entirety.
That it is false.
Not in its entirety. There's a limited waiver, and UNAIDS have said that not all of the services that were previously funded by USAID are continuing. So that's why I put that example to you.
Okay, well, which ones aren't being funded? I'll fix it right now.
Okay.
He's the advisor, right? Right? We all heard him say it. He's the advisor. What does he say right there? Like, I'll play it back, chat.
Okay, well, which ones aren't being funded? I'll fix it right now.
I thought he was just an advisor.
Oh, but he's rich. He could fund them personally.
Yeah, he's like, no, the US aid thing is what it's gonna fix. I'll fix it. He says, I'll fix it. Like, you could only fucking interpret this one other fucking way, and it's not that you're not a fucking advisor. Because that means you're just gonna tell someone to fucking, hey, look at this. You're not gonna fix it. So him fucking stouting here for like 20 minutes saying he's just an advisor, and then you have that happen where he's getting pushed because of comments that Bill Gates said to him, which, by the way, rich fighting the rich, bravo, always enjoy to see. But just fucking him saying that he'll do it.
Okay, well, actually, they're all on the UNAIDS website, so you'll be able to see them. But mostly they are to do with prevention. And for example, the rollout of a drug called lenacapavir, which was hailed as one of the biggest breakthroughs against AIDS for many years, which came out last year. So if you are, perhaps, I'm sure UNAIDS would be delighted if you're able to look at that again.
Yes, but well, if in fact this is true, which I doubt it is, then we'll fix it.
Okay, fine.
Sean, do people just talk like that? Do people just say, hey, yeah, we'll fix it? Yeah. I think that you just fucking say shit, that you're in an advisory role because you don't want to take the heat. And then in moments, where you're getting a little bit of pushback, the truth kind of slips out.
So finally,
because he can't fix it. Ultimately, he can't fix it. He literally can't fix it. He's an advisor. He can tell someone, but that won't fix it, right? If there's a hole in the wall, I can tell, hey, that there's a hole in the wall. We should probably fix that. Doesn't mean I fixed the hole. Sorry, it's always annoying when I hear him like stout this shit. It's just like
your political influence.
This shit happens.
I wonder whether you have decided yet.
Like, for
it all
sure,
depends on who you're advising and their receptiveness to your
advice. For sure. But there's one thing of being like, I'm an advisor, I just say shit, or I say shit and people do the thing that I tell them to do, right?
That is on the people doing the thing, though. That isn't on your advice.
Well, that's still kind of still on you. If like the person's gonna do the thing that you tell them, no matter what, then yeah. He is a competent advisor. Yeah, like for sure he doesn't have. But here's the difference, Dave. If I talk to someone and I know they're always gonna like do the thing that I tell them to do, no matter like what, then it's kind of the situation we find into. But yeah, I could agree that yes, he is in an advisory role for sure. It's just how much of the advisory role is actually advising, right? Where it's just like if everyone's listening to everything you say, no matter like not pushing back on it, like I'm pretty sure when you have to admit that that you accidentally cut Ebola prevention, that this isn't being taken care of carefully, right? We're just fucking hacking and slashing, and people aren't fucking like being like, I'll look into that. It's just he says something and the person does it. So yeah, that goes beyond an advisory role. Like,
yet how much you're going to spend on the upcoming midterms? Is it you spent a lot more money on the last US election than you envisaged when you were speaking here 3 years ago? Are you going to continue to spend at that kind of level on future elections?
I think in terms of political spending, I'm going to do a lot less in the future.
And why is that?
I think I've done enough.
He lost 2 elections, just to let you guys know. And the third one that they actually won was by a tight margin that shouldn't have been a tight margin. That's the reason why. That's the actual reason why. But you can't admit to taking L's in public, I guess.
Is it because of blowback?
Well, if I see a reason to do political spending in the future, I will do it. I do not currently see a reason.
Okay. What about political influence beyond the US? How often do you speak to President Putin?
I don't speak to President Putin.
The cheese head should have worked.
You've never spoken to President Putin?
I was on a video call with him once about 5 years ago.
Okay. That's the only.
But why would you think I speak to President Putin? Oh, you must. I get it.
Because
you
I've
believe
heard
the
you
legacy.
speak. Actually, I've heard you speak about it. For example, in your West Point speech, you said, "I challenged President Putin to was it an arm wrestle?" And I know the Wall Street Journal has reported your reported conversations.
Oh, yes.
If you're saying they haven't happened other than once, I'll take that as read.
Is there a worse publication on the face of the earth than the Wall Street Journal? I wouldn't use that to line up my cage for parrot droppings. That newspaper is the worst.
Could you make that out? I couldn't make that out the first time, and I didn't make it out this time.
I don't know what it was. Paraphrase?
Something droppings, and that's all I heard about.
Parrot droppings. Parrot birdcage.
Parrot droppings.
Cage for parrot droppings.
Yeah, parrot droppings.
Parrot droppings.
That newspaper is the worst newspaper in the world.
He should be fired from Tesla. I can't understand his accent.
World. Yes. If there's one newspaper that should be pro-capitalist, it's the one with Wall Street in the name. But it isn't. So I have the very lowest opinion of the Wall Street Journal. absolute nonsense. And you clearly believe the tripe that you've read in those papers.
I read very widely, and I'm putting these questions to you so that you have an opportunity to respond to them, which you are, and for which we're all grateful to hear your responses.
Yes.
Okay, we are out of time. So
you mentioned me challenging. I did so on the X platform. I challenged Vladimir Putin to single combat over the. But I didn't talk to him. That was a
single combat. He means an arm wrestling match. Okay, just to clarify that.
Post on the X platform.
Great. That's why I asked you, and you've clarified and explained. Thank you. That's why I was asking whether you have had reported.
He's so defensive at this point, dude. Oh, it's so crazy.
Conversations, and you've said you haven't, other than a video call. Okay.
Typical legacy media lies.
Okay. Listen, I actually thought I might give Grok the last word, because when I asked Grok what your hardest challenge is, it said the strain of managing multiple high-stake ventures amid financial, regulatory, and public relations crises. And I wondered whether you recognize that characterization and whether you do think that this is a pivotal year in your life.
Well, every year has been somewhat pivotal, and this one's no different. So, I mean, in terms of interesting things that hopefully are accomplished this year, the getting Starship to be fully reusable, so that we catch both the booster and the ship, which will be the first fully reusable orbital rocket ever in history, which would be a profound breakthrough, as the essential breakthrough necessarily to make life multiplanetary and ultimately become a spacefaring civilization.
Okay, not for that reason, but it's just based. Like,
hi, I'm Dave.
It will make. Hi, Dave.
What's up, Dave?
So I wanted to push back well, I mean, there's been quite a few things I wanted to push back on, but just real quick on saying he got defensive about the Putin thing. No, he just finally realized what the hell she was talking about.
The what?
You can see it in that moment that he's like, oh,
yeah, the
you mean when I challenged him to single combat on X?
No, he said that's afterwards. He said I addressed this on X, where I challenged him to single combat.
Yeah, he challenged him to single combat on X.
Yeah, no,
he didn't do it in real life.
No, but he's also had a voice call with him, which he admitted to.
Yeah, he said 8 years ago or something like that.
Five years ago, and then the Wall Street Journal also has other recorded other on report, not recorded, but on report conversations that they've had. That's why he's defensive, because the Wall Street Journal has that information. That is just that's unverified information. But it's again that one thing where it's just like legacy media lies. But he's also what Sean said, he's been defensive this whole interview.
Well, yeah, I agree with that.
And to be 100%,
I don't feel like he was extra defensive about the Putin stuff.
But no, he wasn't extra defensive. I'm just saying that he's just defensive in that instance, where it's why be that? Just pointing out that. Just be like, fuck it, I don't care. There's a point where you have to be yes-anding everything.
No.
But yeah.
Listen, it's clear this is just the hostility of legacy media destroying this poor billionaire.
Yep.
This is a pretty easy interview, to be honest, though.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying.
He's not getting pressed that hard. I mean, he's getting pressed, but not
not hard.
He's not getting his back pressed against the wall. He's getting asked serious questions, but they're not over analyzing his responses.
Yeah. We are, because we are.
But he is getting asked the questions that people want to know.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm just I think the interviewer did a good job. And
I wouldn't call it a softball interview, but it's definitely not Pulitzer Prize winning.
Yeah. But it's one of those situations where it's just even an interview like this, he's acting this way, right? That's why I'm just this dude has legit lost the marbles.
He's always been a little Bit of an odd duck.
He's always been an odd duck, but like at this point, it's just like like I pointed it out, or the virtue signal thing. Like he's just doing talking points.
Am I the only one that thinks in history people are going to be like, why did we name a department of the government after a Shiba Inu meme?
But I don't think anybody's going to do that just because Department of Government Efficiency actually makes sense for what it did.
I think that's debatable.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like auditors were...
Or for what its purpose is, whether you're...
Yeah, but we already had something in place for that. We had auditors.
Okay.
That's why I'm just like...
And they turned it into a department.
Yeah. Well, it's not...
For government efficiency.
It's a cabinet. It's not a department.
If it didn't fit what it's doing, then yeah, I would agree. But it fits.
The thing is,
its purpose.
It's not even... The numbers they tout aren't even correct. That's why I kind of want to go through their website to like show like, hey, this is what they're talking about, because a lot of the money they're saying that they saved is already like money paid out. So how do you save that money? Like they're grants that have already been fully paid out. That's what I'm saying. Like
maybe it's a grant that is set to renew.
No, they legit, like the grant holders even say like, yeah, this has been paid out already. That's why I want to do a whole stream where I would break that website down. And like go like item per item, being like, this is what he's talking about here, this is what he's referencing here, and then get an actual total, because people have done that, and there are like, you can look at the data points that people have used for it, but it's pretty interesting. But I feel like doing it live on stream would be fun. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But yeah, him being defensive, I kind of get, like, he's been put through the ringer at the moment, so I'm just like, yeah, like obviously he's gonna be a bit defensive in any situation at the moment, but like to go on here and like try to like convince people that your company is doing a-okay when, like we showed earlier, that like you're way down from your Q1 of last year.
Can I ask you a question, Hornet?
What?
Do you think he's been held to a level of scrutiny that, like, a Democrat, like, say Mark Cuban was in charge of, like, an auditing thing, do you think he would be held to the same level of scrutiny, like, if the shoe was on the other foot?
Absolutely,
I would hope.
It would be a lot worse. I think George Soros is a good example of this. Like, everything was about George Soros for the longest amount of time. And
yeah, but nobody like confronted him, really. They just bring his name up.
No, they confronted George Soros a lot. It's just George Soros isn't in the public as
I've
much
never
as,
seen George Soros do an interview like this.
Yeah, he's just not in the public as much as Elon, right? Like that's the difference. Like he's just not in the public eye as much, because Elon likes being in the public eye. Yeah. But every fucking Republican will bring up George Soros, and that's hyperbolic.
Yeah, as like their money.
Not all of them will do it.
Boogeyman guy, the funding the media guy.
Yeah,
that's what everybody says. I'm aware of that, but I'm just saying.
Democrats.
I don't think he gets put under the same scrutiny. He's not made to answer the questions.
Well, they say that George Soros is funding this guy.
People aren't burning down Amazon because George Soros funds Democratic newspapers.
Yeah, that I agree.
Like it's not the same level.
I agree to
by
that.
any stretch of the imagination.
I do agree to that, but I don't know if it's because it's a more direct form. Like I don't know if George Soros was in the cabinet, I don't know if the Republicans would stand for that. You know what I mean? I think there's also a lot.
I mean, there's been rich people in the cabinet.
Yeah, there has been, but like that's what I'm saying. Like like billionaires that like are really like divisive or haven't really seen this level of like it's like Bill Gates being in a cabinet. It'd be super weird.
I honestly think if Elon didn't do as much press, people wouldn't think twice about it. It's just the fact that he is
Doge is kind of one of those things where okay, like I could agree to a certain degree. I don't think it would be as bad, but I don't know if people would still excuse like Doge, right? Because a lot of people seem to have issues with how they're doing the cuts.
But okay, let's say Elon wasn't part of Doge, and you were just hearing about all this stuff.
Okay.
Wouldn't you be for what Doge is doing?
What do you mean? Like Doge cutting stuff? Yeah.
What it says it's doing, what its principle is, what its intent is.
Obviously, yeah. That's why I'm just like, if they went at the government with like with a fine tooth like brush and removed corruption or fraud or whatever you want to call it, then yeah, I totally on board with that. Like I think everyone has said that at this point. I don't think there's anyone who disagrees with that point. It's when you're taking a chainsaw to it that we would be like, oh, this is bad, right? Like we shouldn't be in a situation where we're canceling Ebola fucking
well, you don't cut everything with a toothbrush.
Well, I'm saying you go through it with a fine-tooth nail. Sorry.
Fine-tooth comb, you ESL. God
sorry. Sorry, don't know.
He is not ESL. That's the sad thing.
Clip that.
You want to be surgical about it, is what I'm trying to say. You want to go at it with a scalpel, not a fucking chainsaw.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I feel like you can refund something that you're defunding very easily, as long as you're not just torching the company that's doing it.
We just need to bring back guillotines, and if there's a threat of a guillotine, you'd be surprised how well behaved people can be.
Based.
We gotta. I think the guillotine's a good idea, but we've got to reinvent it. I want one that's made like with horsepower and like gimbals attached to somebody's head, and like it spins the head off.
Yeah,
spins the head.
Yeah, Dave, you don't want to just like burn everything down and then be like, I can rebuild it later. That's the issue.
Kinda.
You want to be like, hey, let's look through and see if we can find.
I'm kind of for that whole burn it to the ground and then rebuild.
Why?
Scorched earth, bro.
Fuck that, dude. Like, especially when we're talking about like fucking our government. Like, I don't think we should be doing that.
If we don't know what something is, get rid of it, and then if we decide we need it, bring it back.
I'm not
super easy.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying like when you're just slashing like USAID like they did, it's
like
just like
the Department of Education, kill it. If we decide it was doing a good enough job, we bring it back.
Well, that
easy.
That takes a lot more work than just bringing it back, right? It has to be codified. That's the whole reason. That's the whole reason getting rid of a department is difficult, because if it's already built into the government, it's already like it's been voted on. It's part of your government. Now removing it takes voting, taking it out, and then putting it back in would require everyone to agree that we should put it back in. That's why we don't like fucking just slash fucking things like automatically, right? Because
everybody should agree if we need to bring it back in.
But that's
like if it's something that we needed, everybody should agree that we bring it back in.
Do you think everyone agrees we should?
That's how things work.
Wait, do you think
if you pull it out, you need consent to put it back in? That's just how it works.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
Sure. For sure, but then you're in no, because the thing cannot be working, and then the other people can be like, "Fuck no, I don't care."
What about implicit consent, though? You know what I mean? Like,
what if you're just like assuming the worst? Then
no, it's not. It's not even assuming the worst. Most people are not okay with Medicaid cuts, right? That like I could use the big beautiful bill as an example, right? A lot of fucking Republicans had problems with the things that were in there. But they still voted for it, and it still passed the House floor. Because as you have said, people vote with their party.
I still need to hear like who was against it that voted for it.
There were several people that thought that the Medicaid cuts. I forget the actual senators, because there's like, I think there was like 10 people that were having an issue with it. 10 reps.
But I need to see who and what their arguments against it were.
I don't have them.
You have to go a lot deeper into that. Than just,
I don't have
there
them.
There were people that were
hand.
against it, and
people
because maybe they had minor disagreements with it, like the amount.
That's what I'm saying. The Medicaid cuts were,
but still thought overall it needed to happen.
Yes,
but just not to the amount they were doing it.
That's what I'm pointing out. That it was the Medicaid cuts that they had an issue with. The rest of the bill seems to fall within line, right? But the Medicaid cut was the thing that they didn't agree on. But they were like, the party seems
compromised.
The party seems to agree that this is good. That's not compromise. Compromise means you meet in the middle.
Wait, no. What I'm saying is
compromise means the middle.
Hold on. There's another way of compromising. If something's gonna fix 80% of your problem, but 20% it's killing something else, you still take the 80 sometimes.
I guess, but like that's not how parties work. Even you have said that you will vote for a party that has majority of your things, but like you're a one ticket voter as well. Like that's why I'm just like I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean if it's solving my problem, but it's hindering something else that I disagree with, I'll vote for it.
If you agree with
that's
most
not
of the
necessarily just party, that's just in general.
If your party's doing mostly good, but the Department of Education's still doing bad. Right, like if the Department of Education being gone is producing bad results, you're still not going to vote to bring the Department of Education back because your party's doing good. Because the 80% is there.
If it's a single issue, if it's separated for like the reason the Big Beautiful Bill is weird for this as a comparison is because
it's a budget deal.
Hold on, listen. You can stop talking and listen for a second. If you are voting in something that covers like a whole bunch of different things at once, that's different than picking a single issue and voting directly on it.
So the budget isn't a single issue?
If say the Big Beautiful Bill failed, they would come back with another version of it that's slightly altered, maybe without the Medicaid cuts.
Well, it's not only just the
Medicaid cuts. That's just how writing bills works.
It's not just the Medicaid cuts as well, because I think I recall someone actually, wasn't a lot of them, but I recall someone saying that the tax breaks were a little bit on the offset because of the increase to the deficit. But that's what I'm saying. Like, they obviously will fucking have issues with it, but they're overall gonna stick with the party line. That's what's gonna happen now. That's what the Republicans have shown at this point. They're united. They talk.
That's what everyone showed at this point.
But they say it.
For it.
They say it. Obviously, the Democrats have a problem with this. Otherwise, they wouldn't show up to that fucking to the State of the Union and fucking be all over the fucking place. Never mind.
Okay. Both parties have a problem with this, and I agree it's a problem. So just saying Republicans do this is a little disingenuous.
No, I'm saying that if the Department of Justice, because that is a big Republican talking point at the moment, the Department of Justice
at the moment, but if it changed and the Republican Party decided, hey, we overreached on this, we do need to walk this back. Guess what?
But a majority would come back. The majority would have to agree before they flip their vote.
That's the whole point.
Not one or two, not fucking five, not enough to actually flip it and codify it.
It's not going to be one or two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
it's going to have to become a consensus.
Yes, that you have to get everyone to agree.
Perfect.
That's a retarded standard.
That's exactly what I want. Because if it's just one or two people that are like, oh, you know what? I don't really like it.
So when we make
that shouldn't be enough to change something.
Wait. So when we have a law, 100% of the senators agree.
If
100% of the reps disagree.
If everybody in the Discord agreed to kick somebody out, and then two people are like, you know what? I think they should come back.
The majority.
They'd still be kicked out.
The majority, for sure.
Until everybody agreed.
The majority.
Until you reach a consensus.
Too close to home, Dave.
It only
depending on the one. It could just take one. Depends on who the one is.
Yeah.
It could, but they'd have to convince the rest of the people.
No, I mean if it was Hornet.
No.
Wouldn't matter.
Well, if Hornet decided that, then we could take action and counter it. But
take what action? Take what action? You can't fight me. You can't fight me in here.
Torch it and create a new one, and call it Sanctum as well.
Sanctimonious bastard.
I'll have all the blackjacks and hookers.
But yeah, so yeah, there's just never a point.
But I know Hornet's not that kind of guy. He wouldn't make a unilateral decision.
For sure. But I usually reach out to people's opinions and see like where I lie on things, right? Like I don't want to be headstrong and be like, this is the idea that I have.
I'm like 3 seconds away from having a Baba Booey moment.
Baba Booey.
Baba Booey. We'll all have a Baba
But yeah,
Booey
all I'm
moment
saying,
together.
Dave, is that it would require a lot more effort to put it back into place than just like going over it and being like, okay, these are parts that we don't like. Right, that's all I'm trying to say here. Where if you look at it and you're just like, okay, these are things I don't like, and I don't want the Department of Justice, the Department of Education doing this, instead of just hacking and slashing the thing and just being like, hey, if we need to put it back, it's going to be a lot more work, but you know what? Fuck it. I just don't want to have a fucking attitude with the government, you know?
Why?
Because government is a very delicate thing that can tumble at any moment.
No. They can get broken down and come right back. Happens all the time.
See, the Romans thought that, and I don't see Rome ruling the world right now, so I don't know what to tell you.
Good.
Any Romans in the chat?
Any Romans?
If it doesn't deserve to stand, it shouldn't.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, yeah.
For the record, I've grown up in technically a Roman family. Italian.
Shut up, Gypsy.
Based. Italians aren't Roman.
Italians are the former Romans.
They aren't Roman.
Yes. Romans are Italian.
Yeah, Italians are different than Romans.
Yeah, Romans are Italian, though.
You guys are the fake white people.
Dude, you are as like essential Italian as a meatball.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not Italian, but I was raised in an Italian household, so
yeah, I know.
It is what it is.
Anything?
So you're fake Italian, fake white. I get it.
Yes, I'm Irish and German. Come on, you couldn't tell that?
He's dude playing the dude disguised as another dude.
He's fake white, which makes him white.
Yes, but I faked tan.
Double negative. But you're adding a positive to that double negative, so you might not be white. So.
Wow. So being white is a negative. I see. Racist.
In South Africa,
it is.
Apparently.
No, I also need to do a stream on that.
Can we have a moment of silence for all of the
I don't know where I can
being
find a
killed in the
list
white genocide right now?
No.
I don't know how I feel on all the South Africa stuff.
I need to find a list of those 140 because he says 140, but it's like 142 from what I was looking at, but they didn't have like a comprehensive list so I can read through them. So I need to find that, and then I'll probably do a stream on those.
But I do agree that the answer to racism is not more racism.
Yeah, for sure. But there's like, so like, I can see the argument for trying to introduce something into the general public. You kind of have to hold it position where it's just like, okay, I kind of have to force this, right? Like segregation in school or desegregation. Like you have to kind of force it for a little bit and then just like let hands go, right? Because it becomes part of the cultural norm. So I can understand them putting those laws in place. It's just about how implementation works, and that's why I kind of want to read into it to see like what the actual like nitty-gritty of the situation is. Because I don't think forcing people to work together is necessarily a bad thing in all cases. Because it could lead to potential goods like we have currently.
Yeah, but like forcing a U.S. company to have 30% African American or black or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't make sense considering our population density.
Yeah, the thing is, that law is is set up as like an internal thing. So, but since they're doing world trades, all that gets added into it, and it's just like, oh, okay.
You just wait till that law affects white people; it'll get rescinded.
But they are the South African.
It does. What do you mean?
But like,
the only thing it affects.
Go ahead.
Well, I was answering Smokey. That is the only thing it affects.
Oh, okay.
As white people.
The South African government is working with Elon to get him that license so he can work there. So you'd like to work around that because that's more for internal stuff. That's why I'm just like, I can understand that to a certain degree because you want people to like have that force situation and then again let the hand go eventually, because that's kind of what government kind of has to do at some points, where it's just like kind of have to make you guys all fucking like each other to a certain degree, or at least cooperate. Also, what's up, Michelle?
Hi, Michelle.
Hello, Michelle.
Fucking dickhole.
Jeez.
So
Harsh.
yeah, that's the only thing that I would say for like the South African stuff. As long as they work with them, I think that's fine. To be 100% honest, I think we are removed enough from apartheid that we can. They should probably lean off those laws. You know what I mean? But that would be like the only thing that like I could come up with at the moment. I need to read through the like a comprehensive list of those laws so I can get a more accurate tone for it. But should we finish the video? There's like a minute left. I don't think he's gonna say anything crazy, but
we've got Neuralink, which is now helped 5 patients restore capability using the telepathy implant, where they're able to control a computer simply by thinking. We'll be doing our first patient to restore sight with our blind sight implant, which is either end of this year or early next. In fact, that first patient might be in UAE, since we have a relationship with UAE and the Cleveland clinic there.
Not American?
I think what's running on the AI front, we are close to what you might call AGI.
Definitely American. Right,
or digital superintelligence.
It's the UAE though.
I think we are seeing an explosion in digital superintelligence here. And then we've got at Tesla we'll be launching unsupervised autonomy, basically self-driving cars with no one in them, in Austin next month. So it's a big year for sure. Many other things on the in the works too.
Okay.
I'm a technologist first and foremost.
Elon Musk, thank you.
He's a technologist first and foremost, guys.
Yeah.
True. Technologist. What the fuck is that?
Who's that dude? Fuck. What is the fucking Satan Sinner? Didn't he use that word? Technologist?
Yes, I know. That's why I'm.
What's that movie you watched? How people like only lived half their life because there was like another person that took over the other half.
What?
Some movie who was telling me about.
I don't know who was telling you about that one.
Like
that's
interesting. When you were asleep, like someone else is like doing all your shitty work and stuff.
You're talking about Severance. It wasn't a movie, it was a show.
Got like an AI, got a Neuralink implant. He's got an AI doing this retarded interviews and shit.
Oh, he's just asleep, and like internally, he's just asleep.
But like fucking dead-eyed and motionless.
Yeah.
I know you said something like maybe he's not really autistic, he just sucks or whatever, but there is zero chance that this man is not autistic.
Well, no, I think he's autistic for sure, 100%. I think the thing that I don't know at this point is if he's dumb autistic or smart autistic.
He's bored.
I think he's a combination of both. He's just very, very autistic. Like, dude's mannerisms are so like forced.
Dude, even him drinking water or like drinking out of that water bottle, crazy.
Observation was so spot on that it like broke my head.
Yeah, like
when he said that it's because he learned that he needs to maintain eye contact, and you're like, and I'm like, yeah, and he took it to the extreme.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what's happening here.
It's one of those weird
He
things.
just doesn't want to break eye contact.
Yeah, dude, that's why I was just like, this is some weird shit. But like, that's why it always freaks me out when he does it. But I was just like, I don't know. But obviously, the point of the stream was just to point out that he just says shit now. Like, I think there was a point where he did say things, but they would have at least, like, he'd be hyperbolic about shit, right? But it wouldn't be like a flat out lie.
What's the lie?
The Tesla's doing as well as it was last year. That the DOJ is trying to make him do something illegal because he was doing something illegal. So it was just like, it's like a catch-22 type situation where damned if
Oh
you do,
yeah, I
damned if
agree
you
with that.
don't.
I agree.
Yeah.
That he was misrepresenting that.
Yeah, like that. Like, if the DOJ is like laying out perfectly, like, hey, you can, there's nothing preventing you from it, and then I'm just like, okay, like, who am I going to believe? The
But
DOJ
I still don't agree that he should have to.
Oh, like, we could, like me and Crab had that fucking argument, and I'm like, yeah, like, we could talk about that, but it's just like,
I was unavailable at the time. I was seething in anger here.
Yeah.
But at least Crab was pretty much saying the same things I was thinking and trying to.
Yeah, like, I agree, like, to a certain point. Like, it's just like, okay, but you do want to make sure that employment's fair at some point, and it's just like, okay, there's got to be...
Granted, I take it to a whole nother level because I'm anti minimum wages and things like that.
Really?
I think minimum wage is stupid. Yeah, because it hurts smaller companies more than it hurts bigger companies.
Yeah, I could agree to that. But it's about setting like a standard. Otherwise, like what's preventing them from paying you pennies on the dollar?
I get the principle of it, but the thing that's preventing them from paying you pennies is nobody's going to work for them.
Well, that's the only work you can get if everyone's like wages are like low as fuck.
Then I'm sure those people would rather get that wage than nothing at all.
Yeah, it's that.
You just established that law only applies for companies over a certain threshold.
That could possibly be.
Well, yeah,
a fix.
That would be fine. Yeah, I would love that.
That would probably be a fix. But you also don't want small businesses taking advantage, so it's a weird line. But we have gone for...
The thing is, small businesses can't really take advantage of that.
Yeah,
you're gonna lose any good worker you're gonna get if your competition is paying more.
Big businesses are paying more, but then it's just like
it's like me. The company I work for pays more starting out than the other companies that are like it. So if I see somebody that's good at their job, that's doing a similar thing, I'm gonna be like, hey, we start at this rate. If you want a job, come talk to us.
But then that means that you have to be competitive.
It opens up for poaching.
But then you have to be competitive with the bigger companies. So, like, even if you set the threshold higher, like, for just, like, let's say bigger companies have to meet the minimum wage and smaller companies don't, like...
But if nothing else,
you still have to...
It allows the smaller companies to become a proving ground for employees where they can get the basic skills, learning how to work for less at a smaller company, and then as they develop their skills, they have a marketability to the larger companies that pay more money.
Yeah, I could agree. It
becomes a more natural slope.
I could agree to that to a certain degree, but we have been going for 3 hours, and I was only planning on doing like
you're fine. I like arguing,
so I don't want to sit up here and argue the minimum wage
for
a while. We'll do that. We'll do that on another stream because I think this is the kind of the direction I want to take things now, where it's just like breaking down stuff and like looking at it analytically and then just fucking calling it stupid and making it fun for people.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's kind of the route that the channel I think is taking at the moment.
And when I get the opportunity, I'm going to come on and argue with you.
Yeah, which is going to be fun. But any closing thoughts for the chat, guys?
Nah, I'm good.
Nah, fuck chat. They retard.
You're all gay.
Get it.
The big.
You're fake and gay.
All right, let's let's switch over to the fancy screen for like a second. Thank you for coming, guys. I really appreciate everyone who stuck by, all the chatters, enjoy.
You all suck.
Shut the fuck up, Dave. Thank you for coming. Obviously, this was
if you're not subbed, sub up.
Fucking you got me in the middle of that. Now I have to agree with you, you dumb fuck. I hate you. But yeah, this was a short clip. It's just a fun stream to get me back into the groove of things, and I think that now that my internet is not acting up as fucking crazy as it usually does, then we're on a good point. So keep eyes open for more streams. But with that being said, I will catch you.